Hey everyone, D here, and welcome to another edition of Fans of S.H.I.E.L.D. Catching into our seasonal reviews here. We're hitting season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. A nice little season, a good little split storyline, some wonderful excitement. Well, let me not get into it too much right now. Let's do our quick little introductions. We're going to start things around the block here. We're going to start over with Agent Williams himself, Mr. Don Willie.
Greetings, everyone. Have you subscribed to your Hydra today? Join us. Be one with Hydra.
We're all looking for that connection. And, of course, right down below him, we've got from Smirking Gun Reviews, Mr. Rob Stone.
Hey, yeah, this is awesome. It feels like forever that we've been all together talking about the stuff we love. And I feel like I'm still, like I said, I'm still living it because we're still releasing episodes from season 3. We're currently recording season 4 right now. So it's just a great time. I feel the energy. I feel the love for this show. So let's just get right into it. Talk about this person over here.
Hi, Agent Corey here. Yes, so glad to be back. It does seem like it's been forever. This season was, I forgot how many villains there were in the season, and so many different people were trying to make Phil's life miserable, and that always makes me ornery. So stop making Phil's life miserable. I'll come for you. They'll bring May. Yeah, so I'm excited. Let's start. D, are you frozen? Oh no, D.
Uh-oh, I think Hydra got to him already.
Oh.
Right.
Hydra's trying to run.
Well, sir, everyone, having some... I know, seriously. You know, and actually, I'll probably have to talk to Ward about this. Today's internet is brought to you by NordVPN. NordVPN. I have yet to figure out how exactly to set this up.
Everybody's making ads now.
No. Oh, yeah. And yeah, one thing I got to throw out, you definitely have to get into Rob's season reviews right now. He is doing some awesome ads right beforehand. Just getting you into the mood of things. I love the whole feel of it. So yeah, definitely keep up with that. All right, so let's get things moving on. All right, so Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 3, quick little catch up here. That was premiered in September 29th of 2015. Again, are we catching through? Am I losing you guys?
Nope.
Okay, sorry. Something is wrong. I think this is my internet. I apologize, everyone. This is very unprofessional of me. Yeah, season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. premiered September 29th of 2015. The third season really kind of hit its stride. A nice split storyline, a very solid first season, first half story, and a good separate solid second half story. 100% on your Rotten Tomatoes rating. Averaging 8.19 out of 10. Most everyone considered this was a strong third season. Let's see. It ranked 85th of network shows, 5.52 average viewers, and 47th in your wonderful 18 to 49 range. So, again, this was a good season, but it started to run into the issues. This is when I think it was really apparent of the handicap S.H.I.E.L.D. was having. While it was doing great stories, some wonderful character work, really diving deep into Marvel mythos, it just wasn't grabbing the rest of the larger MCU community. It wasn't tied down with any particular heavy storylines and movie connections, since Guardians of the Galaxy was the fall premiere of that year, and they only had Age of Ultron at the end to sort of connect into. They did get to reference a lot of the other Marvel TV properties, including Daredevil and several of those Netflix bits. But again, despite all of these connections, despite this freedom, despite a lot of the high points that it was able to hit, it still wasn't hitting a larger MCU community, unfortunately, to its detriment. So let's go around real quick and see if we can get some real fill-ins on this. Don, let's start things off with you. Why don't you give me a quick little thoughts of season 3 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Season 3 was a very, very sad event. You know, unfortunately, we got the death of a major character twice. That is Grant Ward. You know, he really was the heart and soul. He was the heart and soul of this show. And I promised myself I wasn't going to cry. But we lost a good one, okay? And twice. I don't understand how the writers listen. I loved it. I thought it was spectacular, but you know, Grant Ward is forever. Grant Ward is forever. Hail Hydra.
Oh, you're muted, D.
I was going to say, who could say more about it than that? Obviously not me, because my mic wasn't on. Let's swing around to you, Rob. What was your take on season 3 here?
Season 3, I love season 3. I'm one of the people who was on board with this show from the beginning all the way through, and I really like season 1. Season 2 is okay. Season 3 was to me really a big pickup from season 1 and 2, leading us into 4, because we were finally, unfortunately for Don, we were putting to bed the Ward story that I feel like needed to come to a conclusion. As awesome, seriously, as Brett Dalton is, like Brett Dalton is our, big bad for 2.5 seasons. And he makes me think of a dude from The Boys a little bit, where he always just brings it. He always brings the bad. He's always such a standout. But I'm glad that they chose this season to end that character and not drag it out any further. And then when we get to see him later, further on in the series, it's like in a different way. But also, I got to understand why you guys in season 7 were talking about the Malicks and why you like them. And I just did not remember the awesomeness of Mr. Powers Booth, who is just killing it in this season. He's got, in season 1, we had Bill Paxton. In season 3, we get Powers Booth, one of the best actors around. We lost him after this, and I love that we got to have such a high caliber actor as one of our villains in this season. We're also kind of trying to wrap up the Inhuman story that kind of finally fades away in season 4. So everything that's been happening and building up towards the show that shall not be named it's all kind of culminating here. And in the best possible ways. And we get the introduction of Yo-Yo. We get the shotgun axe. We get, as much as you like it, the tearful, at least, departure scene for Bobby and Hunter. We got so many good long take fight scenes with Adrian Palicki and Chloe Bennett and Ming-Na Wen. The women are the ones that really kick ass every season on this show, and they keep finding great ways to do it. They bring that in here. And despite not everything always landing perfectly, to me, this season is my second favorite, and I can't wait to talk about why that is further in a little bit.
All right. Beautifully said. All right, Corey, let's check in with you. What's your take on season 3?
I'm kind of split in the sense I like that they started or initiated that 2 sort of arc approach. I like that change. I don't know. There just seemed to be so much going on for the season. And I know I say that every season, but it seems like each season they just keep upping the ante and putting more complexity into the show. And, you know, putting in twists that you're not going to expect. Yeah, and I guess what I saw as most interesting for this season is that we're dealing with a lot of larger themes or overarching themes. So we talk throughout the whole season about revenge and vengeance. And it starts off with Phil gunning to get revenge, gunning to get vengeance for Rosalind, which I have a whole bunch to say about that arc, but we'll get to that. And then it ends with him, you know, completely retracting that statement of seeing his murder of Ward as a sin, and that the resulting hive is kind of the, I don't guess, justice that results from that Phil stepped outside of his moral boundaries because he was acting on emotion and anger, and what that leashed into the world was hive and this almost apocalyptic end of the world. I think he blames himself a little bit too much, because he has a line where he says, I picked Ward for this team, it's all my fault. And really, May picked Ward for the team. Phil just approved of Ward for the team. So I don't really take all the blame. And as May keeps saying in this season, why is everybody making this about themselves, right? Like, it's like, would you just let it go and stop sulking about, oh, woe is me, it's all my fault, I'm to blame? Like, no. Okay, you did it, it's done. Water under the bridge. Now let's figure out how we're going to fix this problem instead of woe is me. Like, I think she was the only one who had her head on straight for a bit there. But then we also have a huge discussion about faith and belief. And so I love that, learning about Mac's background. Phil mentioned his background is E&C Catholic, which evangelical and charismatic, I'm not sure. I didn't look it up, so I don't know. But something related to the Catholic faith. And we have Yo-Yo is also very faith and belief driven. Mm-hmm. And I love that we see that Mac kind of goes through these patterns of having his faith, having it questioned, sort of falling out of faith, and then coming back to his faith. And he did that in season 2 with S.H.I.E.L.D., right? When he joined the new S.H.I.E.L.D., because he had lost faith in Coulson and what Coulson was doing. And then he had to be, you know, inspired to come back to S.H.I.E.L.D. And then we see this happening again with the Inhumans, where he thinks it's a curse. It's, you know, it's from the devil, or it's fish oil.
Sure.
Convinced it's a divine gift. So that I liked. And then we also had a lot of lost loves or ruined relationships or people dying. You know, this is where we start the theme of Daisy can't have anything nice. This is why Daisy can't have any nice boyfriends. They either have to leave, or they die, or they turn into Hive, or, you know, like it just, and Simmons is having issues in this thing, and Phil's having problems, and May with Andrew. It was like a soap opera, but with guns, you know, lots of guns and aliens. So.
That's true. Kind of everybody in the core family there lost somebody. Phil lost someone, May lost someone, Daisy lost someone. Yeah. Throughout this. So that's, you know, that's those are really good points. You know, one of the themes that I also saw recurring throughout here is one about everybody having a purpose. It's very ingrained with the Inhumans. Obviously, every power fills a need in the society. But even Ward, in his final arc, when he gets onto Maveth, is talking about he now feels like his life means something. You know, once he saw the Hydra god statue there. So there's kind of some interesting bits for everyone of filling a need or finding their purpose. I want to take a moment to hi everyone in the chat. We, of course, have Silver Surfer always here. Devra as well. We've got Toronto Freddy in the chat. Silver Surfer bling, the villains were the best part of season 3, in his opinion. Also, cried more for Ward than Lincoln. So, Don, you've got someone else who sees things right inside there with you. Toronto Freddy mentioning rewatching the whole season right now, is in the midst of season 2, but of course has seen everything. So, yeah, it's a great show to dive back in on and seeing really where a lot of ideas and concepts kind of first get mentioned and then resurrected or expanded upon later on. I'm going to be the one raining on everyone's parade tonight in some senses, I guess. There's a lot of season 3 that I enjoy, but there's also a lot of kind of really big stumbles in my mind. It's like there's a lot of big ideas that didn't always work in execution. Some stuff that I thought were built up that then were disappointed on, or in some ways, the departure of some characters that totally get fumbled, in my opinion. So some big stuff, some small stuff, but definitely I have to agree. Powers Booth as Gideon Malick, they don't always use him to the best of his ability, but when they does, he is the guy that can convince Ward to go to an alien world and fetch back a god. I mean, his ability to just discuss things, lay things out, even at the end when he's confessing up with Phil and spilling his guts, there's all this presence and meaning behind it. I mean, he was the voice from Avengers that was talking about from the World Security Council. So getting him to come back and really have that connection was just lovely. I loved the bit about Ward. I got to agree with you, Rob. This was the time to lose him. He would have just been wearing thin. And I think they did a great way to kill him twice. He was so bad they had to kill him twice, which was really awesome. So yeah,
kill him hard enough.
I'm gonna kill you. I'm gonna bring you back. Then I'm gonna kill you again. That's how. Well, what was it that May had mentioned? At least this time, maybe she's gonna get a crack at him.
Yeah.
Everybody wanted
in his face. I want to punch something.
Yeah.
I hear you, sister.
Everybody wanted a piece of Ward. So the one thing is even though, like I said, I think there was a few stumbles, there were some great hits. And talk about opening a season big and closing a season big. Awesome. The opener with going after Joy, our introduction to the ATCU, the conflict there, the agents just kicking butt. You get your classic shot of Quake shooting the cars down the road. Oh, that's the way that you move things. And again, this is what interests us to one of our first major arcs, and that is the Inhuman Lash, Rosalind Price, and the ATCU. Our first kind of conflicts with Coulson and company as they try to put together their Secret Warriors initiative, and run into a few complications, both politically and of the heart, for Phil later on. I know Corey has been itching to get into this one. Yeah. So let's start things off here with you, Corey. Real quick, let's dive into Rosalind Price and the Lash bit. I know you've got strong feelings. Kick us off.
Yeah, I mean, I had to stop at a page of notes because I was just getting angry. I mean, I'm the person who would potentially argue that in season 3, I hated Rosalind more than Ward because I just was so frustrated with her character and with what they did with Phil and that relationship. I just, right from the get-go, I mean, if you look at her on the page, you think, oh, she'd be a great match for Phil. She likes old cars. You know, she's the head of another spy organization. So they're not going to have any problems with, you know, sorry, honey, I missed our anniversary. I was taking out a man thing and, you know, blowing up a building, but I still love you, right? Like, she'd be cool with that. But then her first introduction to Phil is her being rude and condescending and this know-it-all, and she refuses to take advice from him, even though he's had experience in this field. And he's saying, you're going about this the wrong way. You're making too much noise. You're causing too much problem. Now you're bringing in the FBI and the police, and you're starting a manhunt, and you're approving lethal force. We're just trying to contain this inhuman who's clearly terrified, melting things, has no control over his powers. And unlike Phil, who listens when people challenge him and say, hey, you are going way off book, like, reel it in, Phil, have you gone mad? You can't do this. She just refuses to listen. And then she blackmails him. Like, when she can't catch Lincoln, when her team fails, her backup plan is like, okay, now we're going to grab Daisy, which is essentially Phil's daughter. So you just do not go there, first off. And then, of course, Mac comes to Daisy's rescue. It's like, oh, no, back off. You're not getting her. But, she's just derogatory, insulting towards him. And my question was, why on God's green earth would Phil fall for a woman like this? Because she's not anything like May. She's not anything like Audrey. I mean, is it just the fact that she's a fun quip for him and he's, it's been a while? he's just like, I am tired and I would really like to have some kind of a relationship before I'm shot in my 50s. Like, I just don't see oh, you're muted, but I don't see the why, aside from,
Uh-huh.
Yeah,
All right.
uses the it's not personal line, it's work. I'm like, seriously? Are you kidding me? Really? You use the it's not personal line?
But doesn't that give a certain, tete-a-tete? The one thing that I thought that they did do well was quippy back and forth dialogue, is showing that each of them are kind of engaged. Does that mean, does he like her because she is engaging that way? She does care about what she's doing. She's dedicated to what she's doing. Perhaps there's just a recognition on that. Again, not to say you're wrong or anything. I'm just sort of... I know this isn't May, and we just wanted to get in, but Felinda's next season, and forward from there.
I was just getting so frustrated with the arc, and also, to me, it was basically like, Phil, why are you settling? Like, you were so settling in this relationship, and also, why are you so invested so quickly? It's one thing for it to be a fling, but when Lash throws her off the sort of balcony area, his response is way over the top. Like, it's a response not for, oh goodness, we're going to lose a member of our team. It's, oh my word, the love of my life is about to die. If it was
I think
May, I would agree. I would be like, yeah, that's how he'd respond if it was May. But Roz? And
I think Speed well established that relationships under extreme circumstance, are powerful, but they don't last. And I guess especially with the Ward.
Yeah, she just, even if she's doing this for some sort of savior role of, I want to save people because I lost my husband, it doesn't make it okay to have a positive end game if you as a character are just a horrible person.
Okay.
She doesn't learn from her mistake. She doesn't, she's always playing the I'm in control, the manipulation game. And I don't know, even her best friend, I guess, the bodyguard / guy, doesn't approve of her being with Phil, but I don't know. It's just weird. Also, I'm highly suspicious because she tells him she can't cook. And for any human being to not be able to cook, even to boil water, like, how do you survive? Are you living on takeout? And also, how are you alive then? Because...
All right, fair enough. Rob, how about yourself? What was your take on Roseland and the ATCU?
Okay.
First off, I've always been a fan of Constance Zimmer, the actress. So seeing her on here personally, for me, I was really excited to have her here. I kind of saw her as she's a woman who's been given a really important job, and that would more normally go to a man. you know, in a lot of these circumstances. And I feel like she feels like she's got a lot of pressure on her and a lot to prove. And I think that shows in her attitude. She's not a perfect character by no means, but I also feel like from my own personal experience that some of the people I'm more attracted to of the opposite sex are ones that somehow infuriate me and feel like that why do I feel this way? And I still am attracted to them. Is it that kind of opposite to me where I want to figure that person out? So I well, it feels like rushed, but it's like TV rushed. Like they always have to try to get to the thing quicker because you may have 22 episodes, but they know where this is going and we don't. So the writers have to force a relationship to happen a lot quicker. But I also think that with all the things that have happened to Phil and him just kind of being like, I've died once. This person's kind of in the same background as me. She challenges me. She infuriates me. And part of it, I mean, I felt like, you know, early on was kind of a con. Like if I get close to her, I can get more access to the ATCU and figuring out what they're doing with Inhumans. Maybe it was a little too much too early, but again, like I said, I think they do this a lot on shows where all of a sudden we don't know, like there's usually an indeterminate amount of time where, wow, they're like completely, totally in love. But I also think that they needed a catalyst, and maybe it wasn't the best catalyst for some people, to really nail Reward, to really have a reason to finally say enough. And so Rosalind was that person for this, you know, that would snap Coulson into his revenge kick and going where his character goes. I would have liked to have seen a little more with them so that their relationship might make more sense to more people. But I understood it because I've been there, and I realize my experience isn't the same as other people's experience. But like I again, and I also, because I really like that actress, I thought she did a great job as someone who's playing back and forth. Like there was a kind of a playfulness to the way that they were dealing with each other. That while we might be looking at it a different way, I felt like the two characters were kind of both testing each other out the whole time. And I don't know, I liked it. And when what happened to her with Ward happened, I was affected by it. I put it in one of my reviews because it was just like, that scene was really well done to me. And I thought it was funny that they had takeout on plates. And, you know, sometimes, you know, in their lifestyle, they don't just get to say, like, we don't have 6 hours to make a meal. We're on call with SHIELD and the ATCU. We could get a phone call to go to an Inhuman attack or a Hydra attack at any moment. So having a good burger joint ready for your, you know, date might not be the worst possible thing. But I don't know. I liked it enough to where I really cared when she died, and the direction it needed. They needed Phil to go for the rest of the season, because then it plays such a huge part in his character's arc by the end of it, how much he has changed from the beginning to the end of this season. So I don't know. I approve.
Yeah. Well, and again, it also gives him, like you were mentioning, Corey, that revenge pursuit that comes back. And what does he say? It's like, I always knew it would come back and haunt me. I just didn't think it would literally come back and haunt me.
Yeah. I think the only saving grace for me was that Phil wasn't played as a complete idiot, like a lovesick idiot.
Yes.
Which Mac was like, okay, sir, I need to figure out what your plan is. I think you're too close with Miss Price, like blah, blah, blah. And then Phil announces that, here's our plan. Well, I'm with Miss Price. You guys are going to get into ATCU. You're going to figure out everything about it. And then he turns to Mac and he's like, does that answer your question? You know?
Oh, yeah.
So that kind of made me go, okay, all right, he hasn't completely lost his marbles. but I'm still mad.
That was a nice thing for us to show that, yeah, he may be infatuated, but he hasn't lost his mind either. Don, what about yourself? What do you and the Church of Hydra Ward have to say?
You know, listen, last time we were here, I do remember a couple of people on the panel saying that Ward had absolutely no feelings for Agent 33, that he was just using her, and that there was no way he could ever love anyone. And yet, here we have an act of vengeance on behalf of our departed love. All because he wanted to see Phil suffer as he suffered. And glorious. Absolutely glorious. Listen, at the end of the day, the ATCU was in over their heads. Everyone at the ATCU was in over their heads. They had no business getting into the Hydra business. They had no business getting into the Inhuman business. You know, this was a blood feud between two sides of the same coin. And that was what we heard all season long. Two sides of the same coin were Ward and Philip J. Coulson. And look, you know, yes, we are at the tipping point where certain people just can't have nice things. Ward was not able to have his love, so why should Philip Coulson? You know, you made that man kill the one person that he cared about. And then you decided to kidnap the only other person you cared about, and we'll talk about that.
Very good.
So, you know, look, rest in peace to Rosalind Price, but you play in the sand, you're bound to get dirty.
Look,
You know,
HIVE sand or the regular sand?
I mean, listen, does it really matter which one? Look, I liked the show. I liked what they did with Rosalind's character. You know, she was a great foil for Phil at the time. But that also showed, you know, that Phil was playing chess and not checkers.
Yeah.
Because while, you know, she's thinking, okay, I've got him wrapped around my finger, he's like, no, not really. You do realize I'm a spy. I run a spy organization. I have people spying on you right now. So, you know, I like the fact that Phil was still on top of his game. It did become. It became a little unnerving when he just started kind of barking orders at people because he wanted to get revenge on Ward.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because it's like, all right, this isn't supposed to be you, but you know what? We've never got to see Phil this vulnerable before. When it came to season one and the cellist, I forget what the cellist name is.
Audrey.
Thank you. You know, we got to see him partially vulnerable for a very, very minuscule amount of time. Here, we get to see him when he's, you know, trying to gain something that he hasn't had in a while, in the hopes that, you know, I found someone who can relate to me, who's in a similar position that I'm in, that I can come home to. I don't have to hide my real life from this person. I can integrate this person into my real life.
Mhm.
And so for him to be sitting there about to chow down on his favorite burger with his new favorite person, and it's just like, oh, oh, that was shocking. And then to figure out, you're not even figure out, then to get the phone call and find out it was the guy who was on my team, who was the double agent, who we've tried to kill a few times already, and now it's like you did this. You did this because I got you to kill your girlfriend, and so you kill mine. Really? Yeah. I mean, he lost it. He snapped for a minute there. You know. But look, Powers Booth. Powers Booth. Oh my God. Absolutely amazing performance. And I can't wait until we talk more about the Malicks later on. But the fact that he was able to calm Ward down, because Ward was an unleashed beast for
Oh
like
yeah.
the first third of this season. He was nothing but an untamed animal.
Yes.
And and this was the only person who was able to sit him down and be like, hey, no, no. There's a bigger thing that can happen here. But you gotta slow down and stop being the guy who's running around just trying to shoot everything up. Slow it down. Let's sit down. Let's have a talk. Let's learn some things and then use what we learn to take over the world.
Oh yeah. Completely agree. A lot
and-
of good stuff in that episode too.
Yeah.
It was many tails, many heads, one tail. I've got that written down here. Well, perfect, because I think we're going to move right into the Hydra Fight Club in just a second. And I did want to mention out that it was really interesting that we did have our opening bit with the appearance of Lash and the whole deal with Rosalind Price, because one of the big things that we're dealing with are loss and those expectations and the times that you have and what is taken from you. And here we both have in Lash, Andrew being taken from May and Rosalind being taken from Phil by Ward. Again, as you were mentioning, Don, by someone, not just a kill for revenge, but somebody that had they've tried to kill him just this season and failed to do that. That he has been popping up over and over again, being a bigger and bigger thorn in their side. So I think part of the drive wasn't only just the loss of Rosalind, which was painful, but maybe not long enough to be super deep. But I think compounded with that responsibility of this is going to keep going on until I stop it. Which I think, again, gives just great character motivation for Phil, who now May has to be the one who has gone through all of that and also lost Andrew to try and help pull him back. So I think it's one of those things where these losses, I think, is what really gives us our ability for Felinda next season, where these two characters can find out that they've always been there for each other, and in some ways that makes them, the best compatible on so many levels.
And May says something about him joining the cavalry.
Yes.
Like, sometimes you don't get over it. Sometimes it stays with you forever. And he's like, well, then what do I do? And she said, nothing. You've joined the cavalry.
Yeah. That was
interesting point. And just on a side note, is May now has held two kids die in her arms. Right? She had the human little girl, and then they went to rescue the Hydra kid. I think I have it in my notes. Von Strucker.
Oh, Werner.
I mean, he's not really a kid, but he's a teen. He's a young adult.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's get into that's actually, thank you for that transition. That's perfect. Let's get over to a little bit of Werner von Strucker as we talk about Ward's Hydra Fight Club. which I think was sort of an awesome manifestation. He wants a team. He's going to build them up the only way he can by like brainwashed pillar people that he drives cars past, and then he has fights to the death. He is not kidding around, and he is going to build it up. He is building it up his own way. So yeah, well, let's start off. Well, I guess we got to start this one off with Don. Don't go in too crazy with it, buddy. But yeah, what about, and let's talk about his kind of little arc of where he's starting off, his going after Werner Structure, and eventually his connection with Gideon Malick being the last kind of major head of Hydra.
Okay, so here we have a man who has decided, you know what? I'm done playing by the rules. Here we have a man who saw an opportunity to rebuild a once great organization in his own image. And he took the bull by the horns and he ran with it. And that is why Grant Ward is such a great man. Now, we lost Bakshi. May he rest in peace. But he got a new right-hand man, even more ruthless. And, we got secrets. And one secret was that Baron Wolfgang von Strucker had a son. Now, Strucker's son was on the run under an assumed name, but come on, you can't hide from Ward. Right? So, he goes and does the only logical thing. He kidnaps the young man and to test his mettle to make sure that he is actually Hydra material. Now, he wasn't, but hey, the important thing was the money, okay? The important thing was the Von Strucker fortune and also the other things inside the vault. Now, we see that he comes across Powers Booth, Gideon Malick, who is supposedly the last head of Hydra, the old guard. And like I said before, look, Ward was an untamed beast at the moment, and Malick was the person who was able to rein him in. And listen, thankfully, because think about what Ward might have been able to do if he had eliminated Gideon Malick and took over Hydra for himself. It probably would have been a lot worse for the team. And we get the back and forth here with Ward and Malick, the cat and mouse games, and look, think about how much ingenuity Ward had to have to say, okay, I can't get a plane to where I'm going, so I'm just gonna hop on a plane that's flying over the place. And the flight attendant is thinking that he wants to join the Mile High Club with her. He's just like, nope. He whispers some sweet nothings in her ear, but not the kind of sweet nothings that she was thinking. And, hey, it was nice of him to tell everyone to buckle their seatbelts. At least, it was like, hey, the plane is going to have to drop to a safe altitude so you guys don't freeze to death. Hey, if he was really the ruthless bastard that people point him out, claim that he is, he would have just, blew the doors and let everybody die without any kind of fair warning at all. Imagine how many people could have got sucked out of the plane.
Yeah, he did. He did give them a warning. He told them to fly the Hydra sky, friendly Hydra skies, or not so friendly Hydra skies. You
like
know?
how he gave Fitz and Simmons a chance to survive.
Exactly. I mean, you know,
Dump them off a plane.
yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, Ward is a very magnanimous individual, and this is why I'm not understanding all the animosity towards him. You know, has he made a few mistakes? Yes, but at the end of the day, Ward is a good man. Hashtag stand with Ward.
Okay. All right. Rob, Rob, you have any anything to say
Save us,
about
Rob.
Fight Club
Save us.
Hydra?
Save us.
Well, look, because I don't even know how to really. I mean, oh boy, because I don't know how serious I need to be, or if I just need to be as playful as Dad's being. I still maintain that Ward will used every excuse as possible to justify all of his actions. His supposed love for 33 to me was just an attempt to recreate the connection he had with Daisy that is now gone and will never come back. And his desire to still be with the team that he can't be there. So he's going to try to do his own thing. I also think that in a weird place, Ward wanted to figure out a way to die. To be caught, to be stopped. Because to me, so many of his attempts just feel half-assed and doomed to fail from beginning. He's working with people that shouldn't be trusted with anything, let alone the next level of Hydra. Just having, the Fight Club stuff was fun, but I was watching it as like a man who was really out of his depth, who's just trying to create anything to spite his old family that he's lost forever. And if I can't, I'll make my own, like that kind of attitude. But I think in the end, he still respected a lot of the people on that team. And I still think that deep down there, if there was any feelings for anybody, it was still for that team. But he could never get it back. He lost all of it. And so he would use any excuse to say the opposite and push and push and push and push. And and that's why I love Ward, because he just owns that delusion. And so, killing Rosalind, it was more to get his father's attention and to eventually, he knew what that was going to cause. He knew that maybe he would win. Maybe he'd be on the other end of something against Phil. Maybe Phil would have him. But I felt, especially when we ultimately have what happened to Ward happen, I think he was fine with it in the end. Because to me, he had a bit of a death wish about things. Because he could never have done this on his own. He could never have created Hydra on his own. Malick showing up and using him, giving him that hope that there was something, a future still for him, but ending up being just another cog in Malick's scheme, which I thought was so great, as I'm watching Malick just play him like a freaking violin, knowing all the things that are messed up about Ward and knowing just how to pull on all those things to make him think that there was still opportunity for him, when really he's just another sacrifice. And so the tragedy that's Ward is that he just, he made his bad choices and he just kept making them. And the playfulness when he would see his team at times, like he might have been, it's like he didn't know. Sometimes I feel like if he wanted to kill them, or if they had said, just come back, he's such an interesting bad guy. But on the other side of it, like just talking about like his plans, I just like that it gave them more opportunities to kill him all the time, you know. And you know, there was that episode where they tried to sell it on the air that this was the episode where they get Ward, but you know that it's like episode 7 or 6 or something like that, and you know that that's not going to happen. It just, when you have a great villain like Ward, you have to, you know, keep him interesting and letting him have more and more interactions with our characters. And so I in that respect, I like it. I just never felt for an instant that he was going to be anything more than just keep riding that slow downward spiral towards death.
Yeah.
And I think he wanted it.
I think that's a beautiful and perfect insight in with Ward. I think you hit a lot of great points right there on that. Corey, did you have any thoughts here on Ward's suicidal intentions?
Well, I thought it was interesting. We finally get to meet Ward's brother in the season, the younger brother, and he really gives us a bit of more of a window into Ward, because before that we were kind of jumping back and forth between the older brother or Ward. Who's right? They both have an opinion on what happened. You know, the one guy in season 2, I think it was, said, you know, Ward just lies and keeps lying and believes his own lies, and you know, he's dangerous and don't believe a word he says. But then we also got Ward's perspective on things. So it was a little bit of, who do you believe? So when we finally meet the younger brother who's terrified and says something along the lines of, just because I come from a family of psychopaths that's totally messed up doesn't mean I'm a bad guy too. You know, I'm just the regular guy in this family who's trying to hide and change my name multiple times and stay away from Ward. And he tells Phil, you know, Ward constantly makes excuses and believes those excuses. And he burned our house down with our parents in it, with no, so we actually get to finally have a hopefully truthful representation of what's going on with Ward, because there's been so much misconception and lies that at this point we really don't know what's the truth from the lie.
Right.
So I liked having that kind of closure on Ward's character. And the Fight Club has my favorite fight scene with May.
Oh yeah.
Those guys are like, hey, come for a drink, and she's not interested, and you know it's not just a drink. And she just mops the floor with them, and then has that snarky comment about, I'll do you a favor and not tell everyone the tiny little Asian woman kicked your butt. Just love that. Also was concerned that Hunter was going to get killed in that, potentially. I feel like he went in thinking it was one thing, and then suddenly he was in way over his head, and it became this fight to the death kind of scenario. Also, do not trust any of Hunter's friends.
Sure.
Some are really his friends. So yeah, I don't think May will be doing any other ops with him and his friends. I also loved how Hunter showed up. That he tracked May down at her father's place. And that was one of the questions that wasn't really answered in the season. Did Ward orchestrate that car accident that injured May's father? Because they bring it up at some point. Someone asked, do you think it was Ward? And we never really get an answer. Also loved that May's dad calls her Millie. We've never heard that before, so her nickname is Millie.
Yeah.
And we get some more background on her, like she used to figure skate all the time, and then we get that, you know, traditional father-daughter talk of, you know, my daughter, she always got up after she fell down when she was figure skating. That kind of moral speech that May needs to get back in the field. So I thought that was sweet.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right. Well, perfect there. Yeah, I think I liked kind of Ward's arc in this. I love the chance that they had given him a chance to kind of wrap up his storyline, and what I found ultimately, what we found on Maveth to be an almost tragic bit where he feels like he finally received, finally got his felt his place in the world, that his life has meant something, that he was finally part of something, which of course is usually the surest sign that you're going to die the moment that you get any type of personal closure.
Happened with Lincoln.
But yeah, I agree. The pursuit, the whole Hydra Fight Club, he was just trying to grab a name and make it his own. I think once he ran into Gideon Malick, he was played like a fiddle. And this to me was Powers Booth at the height of his power, when he is used the best as the guy that talks to you, that convinces you. I mean, he's not a strong arm guy. He's not a tough guy in any of that sense. Not anymore. When he was younger, sure. But at this stage, he is perfect as that voice, and how he can just weave the tale of Hydra and convince Ward to go to an alien planet and lead the armies of the Hydra god. I mean, it's just a violin, a Stradivarius playing right there. And it's one of my more favorite episodes, Many Heads, One Tail, in that first half of this season. Not only that, but we also get within that Bobby getting her bracelets, so her batons come back to her, which was just an awesome improvement. And I believe that is where we get the reveal for Rosalind that she is in fact working for Hydra through Gideon Malick. She's not saving Inhumans, she's making Inhumans and getting them stored away. So a lot of great stuff in that episode, and I think really encapsulates a lot of this early change and shift and play with all the characters. So we're about an hour in, and I know in the chat there has been a lot of push for this particular storyline, one of my favorites in the first half of the season, and that is Fitz's hunt for Jemma and the eventual return to Maveth. Fitz, one of my favorite characters on the show, no bones about that. Love him. I love his arc through these first few seasons, for being the mousy little guy to the opening of this, just going in and facing down a hard-edged underworld figure and stealing stuff to go and save Jemma. I mean, the character change has been awesome. And this was one of those where I wasn't sure how long they were going to draw this out. How long was the search for Jemma? We get her back in episode 2.
Yeah, that was so fast.
It's by 7 where we actually get her storyline. And that is one of the things that I actually want to dive into here a little bit from an episode standpoint. It's 4,722 hours. One of the episodes, that many people love, one of their favorites, definitely allows Elizabeth Henstridge to do some amazing stuff. And for me, one of the bigger disappointments in the first part of the season, not because of the episode itself, though. I think Elizabeth Henstridge did some great stuff. I think there was some wonderful storytelling. The problem I have with this, and this is one of the points where I think that the season, where one of the misses where the season did, is it didn't live up to the buildup that they made. We have Jemma coming back. The final storm when she's being chased, and that's when Fitz rescues her. Okay, it's chaotic, it's crazy. But as she comes back, she's waking up with a knife. I don't even know where she got that. Like a little honed blade type kind of idea here. Like a terror thing. She's thrown off. The PTSD she has, sounds throw her off. They talk about this could be gravimetric changes and small change in air pressure and stuff like this. But to me, it really played this idea of serious PTSD, of someone who had been chased, traumatized, living in fear for months. And when we finally get the story, it's nothing like that. I mean, yes, she's by herself and she has to learn to survive. Eventually she finds water, which thankfully she can drink, and she finds food that thankfully she can eat, even if she has to fight it off. And luckily there is suddenly wood right there she can use to make a fire. And then she gets captured by Will, and it's a scary time in the jail cell, but she's not really threatened. And then she spends a few months with Will and doing research and learning things. And by the end, she's about to watch a sunrise and have some spoiled wine. And then the monster comes after him. It's the only second time that she had. And while there was some wonderful stuff done in that episode, none of it gave me that PTSD terror feel of Jemma struggling for 6 months to stay alive, maybe constantly on the run from I mean, I don't know. The headcanon story I had built up was like, crazy. And I felt while they told a tale that was important and introduced Will, which became a motivating factor for the rest of the season and to go back to the planet, her time there did not match her responses when she came back. So I'm going to open this up. Rob, let's kick things off with you on this one, since I've been starting with these other two here. What did you feel about the Fitz arc, the Simmons' journey? Do you feel that the story matched what it had? Did it give you something else? Did you care, and did it all just work for you? Let's start there.
Well, you really made a great argument, because I mean, these are, with this and Parting Shot, which I know you also have issues with. On the surface, I see, when I talk about it on my reviews, I didn't really think about some of the things you were talking about, and in retrospect, you're absolutely right. Now, like you said, the acting was great. But like with season 2, when Fitz had his problem after what Ward did to him, it was a really long arc. His problems did not just go away. Mm-hmm. And here, like what you're saying, everything's right. And then I'm thinking about my reviews, and I'm going, do I even talk about her PTSD? Do I even talk about how she's been so damaged after this? No, it all becomes, it just kind of goes away. And Fitz had a much better arc in her story than she had in her own arc, because his obsession with finding her and getting her back, and then when he finds out about Will and how he compartmentalizes everything and does, and doesn't do the thing that they always do on every freaking show, which is the guy plays the jealousy card. He worries about all that crap. No, Fitz does the honorable thing and is focused on her care and bringing Will back. And they kind of gloss over, not kind of, but by what you said, they gloss over all of that other stuff. And again, I think part of that problem is rushed storylines. They are trying to get to other things. Plus, what we already know from history of this show is, as much as our main characters might be in some kind of peril, even by spoilers for the finale, our characters are always safe in the end. And so
really good.
They could have really spent some time with her arc being just messed up like this was with his brain problem. But they didn't. She just comes back and is like pretty resilient. And that doesn't change that Jemma gets a pretty great arc when you watch her, and then as it continues through season 4, as she begins to really become a player of the game of spying. When she, thinking about what she went through, she does try to make a better effort at being a better spy and learning some of the things that she didn't know. But they sacrifice, they give her that, and they sacrifice the trauma. So that being said, yeah, you're absolutely right. I mean, as well done as that episode was, and how well Fitz was about it, and where that leads their relationship ultimately in this great thing that we've all been waiting for, they kind of, just did not give her her character the treatment that it deserved.
Yeah, because they do. I mean, it was one thing I was excited. She does start learning from Bobby, and she does start fighting a little bit more and getting more skills underneath her belt. But yeah, it was just one of those where I was like, man, this could have been like freaking Warrior Jemma by the time that she pops back, or so, there could have been something really interesting there. And again, you're right. There's so much great stuff in that episode. To me, it felt off from what was promised. But again, maybe that doesn't really mean much for everybody. Corey, what about yourself? What do you think of Fitz's pursuit of Jemma and the 4,722 hours?
I really liked the episode. I didn't have a huge problem with it. I think maybe the reason we're viewing it differently is expectations.
Sure.
You thought the episode was going to be. I think maybe you were expecting more of a horror vibe of, Jemma trying to survive and outwit some demonic presence and, being more at risk consistently, which would lead to her kind of having a psychotic break and, freaking out and having difficulty adjusting back into the world. I was expecting kind of more of what we got, which was more of a Jemma survival camping trip of how is she going to stay alive
on
this planet, and not so much concerned about the threat of what is on this planet. I mean, it's kind of in the background, but I was wondering, where is she? How is she going to get back? How is she going to science her way out of this? How does she survive? And really, we see that she probably couldn't have survived without Will. I mean, she does say that herself in the episode.
Sure.
And we see that because of all the bones left on the planet. So I think it's a question of, were you expecting it to be a Jemma in a horror movie, or were you expecting it to be like Survivor Island, and then what you get is based on that.
I would completely agree with that for sure.
So I think that's why. I mean, I would love to see your version of the episode and how that happens. We do see her having PTSD. We see her break down at the restaurant. We see, her having the problems with sounds and just adjusting back to the world because it's no longer her normal. But I think it's a bit more, it's a gentler adjustment. And maybe that's just because everything is in her head at this point, and she's just trying to deal, as opposed to where Fitz was a lot more vocal and verbal because he was struggling with language. So,
right. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't mind it. I wasn't a huge fan of Will, but I didn't mind him. I also really didn't blame Jemma for. I mean, one of the comments here says that it's the episode where Jemma cheats on Fitz.
Hey, you're stranded on an alien planet with no expectation home, and there's one other person there.
I mean, it's kind of the scenario that happened during World War II, right? Where soldiers were overseas and they think they're going to die, and so they have a fling with someone in France or something, and now suddenly they've got a child in France and their fiance's back in the US going, excuse me.
Sure. Easier to send mail though with World War II than to Mavis. But I mean, they say zip codes or area codes. I think on an entire planet, it's hard to really fault anyone.
Yeah, and then I think that also makes Fitz's sort of loyalty to a fault even more heartbreaking because, I definitely didn't think that that would happen with Gemma, and then I loved, as you said, that Fitz doesn't get jealous. I mean, he does. He gets angry, but as he says himself, I do you think I didn't try to find dirt on him? I tried to find dirt on him. He's squeaky clean. Like he makes Captain America look like the dude, right?
Yeah. He did everything right.
Yeah, and so I think that just makes Fitz more of an endearing character and more of a wonderful character, that he stands by Jemma regardless, and and he feels bad that he had to kill Will, even though it wasn't Will. Like, this is the season of everybody blaming themselves for the bad things that happen, even when it's their fault that these bad things are happening. Yeah,
All right.
that's kind of my take on it. I enjoyed it, but I wasn't expecting a horror, sort of torture.
All right, Don. What about you? What do you think of our Fitzsimmons pursuit of Jemma?
First off, you, sir, you, how dare you? Right? Yeah. Listen, I love the episode. You sitting here freaking picking it apart like that. You. Okay, listen. Great acting. This is something that we had not seen in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Before or since. We haven't really gotten any bottle episodes like this where it really relied on one person being able to carry most of the episode. I mean, the pursuit, obviously, look, when we saw Simmons disappear at the end of last season, it was like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? We had to wait, 3 or 4 months to get the conclusion for that. And then to find out, like, she got transported to an alien planet. There's an inhuman god there, alien parasite, and Fitz. This is the beginning of Fitz literally moving heaven and earth to save Jemma. Before this, it was, oh, will they, won't they? And then that was about it. It was like, oh, here's the guy with the kind of schoolyard crush on the girl who doesn't even realize that she has someone crushing on her. And now it's like, no. This is all out nonstop. It's like, don't you understand? I'm doing everything for you. Everything. So it was a little heartbreaking to like, for Will to actually be there was a little heartbreaking, because you knew it's like, here's this strapping young lad who has survival skills and 7,000 however many hours. It's a long time. Especially if you don't know if you're gonna make it back. Poor Leopold and his I might go to the gym, but I don't need enough protein to actually build muscle. Oh man, it's got a tough time when I'm there. So it was, it's one of those things where when she comes back, she's like, oh man, I gotta find a way to save the guy that I've been dreaming about all this time, while the other guy who's been dreaming about her and was damn near about to get himself trapped on that planet to save her, he's sitting up there like, oh, I guess I gotta go and save my wannabe girlfriend's boyfriend, and I guess I'll have to be Uncle Leopold when they have their alien babies and all that. So it was a weird love triangle. Oh God, and it was just like, can the guy get a break? They didn't even like. It's funny because if you remember in season 1, they kind of gave him a crush on Daisy a little bit, right?
Yeah.
It looked as though they were gonna be like, all right, we fooled you guys. We had Ward and May sleeping together, and now we're gonna ship Daisy and Sky back then. It's gonna ship Sky and Fitz, and then Jemma is gonna wind up getting with Trip, but Trip died. So it was like, oh man, this is gonna be very interesting. And then none of that happened. It was like, all right, damn it, you better put Fitz and Simmons together. And it's like, no, not yet.
This is the season they give the official curse designation. We're cursed.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, oh yeah, no, we're not gonna do that right now. I'm just gonna move you over there. Oh, you guys are getting kid. Wait, hold on. You guys are getting kid. No. So, oh man, yeah.
I love that Hunter calls him out on that. He's like, man, if your ex wants to visit from Phoenix, you do not buy him a plane ticket. It's like, that is very specific.
Yeah. Well, it does open things up. Hunter's got a lot of stories like that. I am sure.
Oh man.
All right. Well, that gives us a nice kind of, I think, first coverage of the first half of our season. Just want to throw out a couple of real quick questions. We're going to call these our little quick shots. Just real quick, fire off some answers. What you guys think? Rob, let's start with you. Most annoying character this season. Which of everybody this season really got under your skin?
Well, look, I know what the comment section is saying. I know what it took me. And you all haven't even seen all of my season 3 reviews, okay? Because there's still like, I got 6 more season 3 reviews to drop. Yeah. Okay, so I've had plenty of time to mull this over, and I could say that the easy answer is the one that's in the comments section.
Don't go for easy, man. Go for the heart.
But mine is James. Mine is James. He is like, so he's written unlikable. And he does so much and with so little time that he's like if Sawyer never got if Sawyer just stayed the same on Lost and had an Australian accent and superpowers. Okay. And it's not the actor's fault. It's the way they wrote him, and he's just one of the most unlikable characters. He's your typical guy who will backstab everyone in the end. And you could say that that's admirable, but I've seen that character so many times that it just, like, every time he was on there, even when he shows up later in another season, I was like, oh God, like, he just doesn't fail to disappoint. And while I don't disagree with the comment section as a whole, James just sucked.
Right on. Corey, what about you? Who's what character this season annoyed you the most? Or disappointed you?
To jump off of Rob's comment, I was so happy when May whacked him over the head with that pool cue. Just like, my word, he just wouldn't stop talking. And then I really hated him because he killed Lash. One of my things about that was, if Lash's ability is to be able to sense Inhumans, and he talks about how it's like a homing kind of thing, like he can't turn it off. He's gravitated towards them. He's drawn towards them. Wouldn't he have known that James was behind him? James is an Inhuman. Wouldn't it have been like alarm bells going off? So that was my question. How did James get the one up?
He was caught up in the moment. Daisy's just takes all his focus.
I guess so. Character that I really couldn't stand. I mean, you all know how I feel about Rosalind, so we'll shelf that for now. But I don't even know his name. But that Asian Inhuman guy,
Gira.
Oh my word. Every time he's like a bad computer virus. He keeps popping up and he won't die. Oh my word. And then he keeps beating up May. Like that one scene that actually made me jump, like a jump scare, because I totally didn't see it coming, was when Daisy's in the containment unit and May's trying to have that heart-to-heart with her. She's like, the reason you're an agent is because I trained you. You know, you could, and then bang, and she's out cold.
Oh, that was because, that was one of those cheesy moments where it was about to get all soft and gooey. Oh, God, I love that moment.
And I'm like, you again? Like, can we just please, when someone kill this guy? He's just, oh. Yeah, so if there's anybody I wanted to strangle, aside from Rosalind, it was him.
All right. What about yourself, Don? Who annoyed you this season?
But not in a bad way. He was being a good villain.
Sure. I get that.
Annoying me to the point where I was, like, even him and Ward were, yeah.
Okay, so I got to say my most annoying character with this season. Sorry, comment section, but it was Mac's brother. Brother, I was just like, oh my God, dude, you are such the stereotypical jackass little brother that just won't shut the hell up and try to put two and two together and make some sense out of something. I'm like, oh, come on. You followed your brother on the damn or on the motorcycle. Like, you see him saying, hey, I need to go off and do something for work. And you're like, oh man, I'm gonna follow him loud ass freaking motorcycle to someplace in the woods that I've never been. Oh man, this guy's out here with guns. Oh, oh man, Mac, you were there? How dare you, Alfie? I'm like, oh, come on, man. The fuck? No, man, no. He was just annoying as all hell. And I see, they say, no, he's only in one episode. It doesn't matter, okay? That one episode was enough that I never wanted to see Mac's brother for the rest of the series. And I'm glad that we only got him in a semi-flashback kind of thing. All right? Oh, my God. I forgot how annoying he was. And I think that even the writers realize, it's like, you know what? Yeah, Mac's little brother is kind of a dick. Let's never have him on the show again. At least not, not in the age where he's going to be able to talk and have interactions with the new director or whatever. Like, no, man, no, just no. Okay. So yeah, that is my most annoying character of the season.
I so appreciate that answer. I think we all do. He was quite annoying. And just to cue in anybody who is not currently looking at the chat, the overwhelming answer from them is Lincoln as the most annoying character this season, which honestly, while I liked Lincoln last season in season 2, I did find him annoying this, and I think they didn't know what to do with him. I don't like the arc that they gave with the whole addiction thing, though that totally paid off at the end. But just his constant fighting back and forth, he really should have just gotten smacked and thrown in a corner for like half the season and just ignored. Which again was kind of a shame because, like I said, I enjoyed the character in the first one and when we first saw him, and I didn't think he was used well this season. All right. Well, you hit an interesting point there with your Alfie and the reference to our Watch Dogs episode, which is part of one of the mid-season arc episodes, which really didn't work for me. Were really kind of disappointing. And I think in a lot of ways, it's because this is our goodbye to Bobby and Hunter, which... Yes, we're going to get into parting shot here real quick, just because I hate this episode.
Damn it! Don't you do it? Don't. No. We lost 2 fine agents. Don't you dare.
Okay.
God.
See, this is it. This is why. And this is why I completely agree with you, because they were awesome characters that I think this show fumbled. If anybody is not aware of the background with these two characters, they were a huge hit from season 2 and were originally going to get a spin-off directly off, which is why as season 2 ends, you have Bobby saying, I don't think I can do this anymore. This is a direct lead into her leaving S.H.I.E.L.D. with Hunter and them starting off a spin-off show. ABC decided not to pick that up. And so they came back. They felt, hey, they're strong in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. We should keep them there. Great. Except about halfway through the season in August of 2015, they decided, no, let's give them a spin-off show and we'll write them off of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. The writers that were involved with the pilots did help establish their arc, which is the whole Hunter isn't really here for S.H.I.E.L.D., he's here for Bobby, which was an arc they already dealt with last season and kind of fixed that. So to me, using the two characters, I thought they were really underused this season. It really felt like they were looking for an exit door. And when we hit to Inside Man, Parting Shot, and then the follow-up Watchdogs, I think they're really kind of wasted times because, well, you shouldn't have gotten rid of the characters. I mean, anyway, we'll get into some of the specifics of why I didn't. But real quick, let's get into your feel on Bobby and Hunter and their goodbye. Corey, let's kick things off with you.
It's so frustrating because at the time they were filming that, everyone assumed they were going to the show, to the Bobby and Hunter, team up show. And then when that didn't happen, there really wasn't a way to put them back into Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. I mean, if they really wanted to, I'm sure they could have figured it out somehow. Like they could have, I don't know, had them working with another organization or undercover, or they could have done something. It's not impossible. It just felt like it was a very moving episode in the sense that we had to say goodbye to them, but it felt like such a frustrating way to say goodbye. Like even Phil in character in the episode, it's like, here's the plan, we're going to do this, and then you're going to go out the side door, and they both say, no, no, we're done, we've agreed. There's no way this ends where we all get out okay, so we're just taking the fall. And even watching that, I felt, that's such a cop-out. No, there's got to be a way. And I do understand that sometimes in a narrative and in life, it just isn't going to work. There is no way. Someone has to, take the ball. Someone is sick and they're going to die and there's nothing that the doctors can do. And so this, that is the reality of the situation. But they played it that way when it really didn't have to be that way.
Well, to me, that's the big conflict that I have with the episode, is the way that they said goodbye made absolutely no sense. When you disavow someone, you don't get to say goodbye to them. You disavow them. They stay in the prison in the foreign country. Mm. You don't give them a way out. And the whole spy's goodbye at the end, well, so emotional. And I know so many people love to shot glass up. Cheers. Why? They're in an American bar. They can just come over for a barbecue.
I mean, I assumed it had something to do with the fact that they're being monitored, and so if they're involved in any other like FBI, CIA, they will be arrested for something somehow.
Like Bobby and Hunter can't lose a tail. I mean, to me, it's just one of those things. If they had done the bar shot in Russia and they were being tailed by a KGB agent, then I can understand, because that's what this is. This is a East Berlin callback.
Yeah.
When you couldn't go across line and you couldn't say anything and you could just give a little cheery shot, but they're an American bar.
And also,
There's-
the Russian president.
Why would he care? He just got his life saved.
Yes, I mean, he just got his life saved, and Phil
was
like, calm.
He was gonna be dead.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Well, so like that's not my problem," and he's like, "And there's nobody there to witness it," and he just like walks off. What?
Why does he care? I mean, again, it's one of those, and I think you're right, because once ABC didn't pick up their spinoff, there was nothing for them to do. They had screwed themselves over. And funnily enough, if they had just disavowed him next season, Phil's not director. He could just say, it's not my call. I can't contact them if they wanted to keep them separate. It was just one of those where they really wanted to try and hit an emotional moment. And I think that they just stumbled hard. I'm sorry, I interrupted while I was asking everybody else's opinion. I do this sometimes. Rob, Rob, what do you think of the Hunter and Bobby kind of goodbye arc there?
I mean, everything you guys are saying is right. When I first watched this, I hadn't even started really giving it the old college try with my YouTube videos. So when I first watched this episode, I was just hung up on the whole. I didn't know the drama. I didn't look anything up. I wasn't thinking about it. I was being just a fan. I wasn't being a reviewer of it. And so I was caught up in the emotion of the situation because Adrienne Palicki didn't really know much about her before this show. This is the second time they've bungled something for her. Something's been bungled for her. First Wonder Woman, then the spinoff series. And I think if just really quickly, if Wonder Woman was probably handled better, she would have been a great Wonder Woman. And then, she really won me over on this series. And I really dug her arc. But Nick Blood is a guy that I never thought I would really like and is acting anyway. And Hunter in particular, I really, really, really got to like. Because it just, him and her don't make sense, just like Rosalind and Phil don't make sense. Well, if you want to be like that, you know what I mean? Like if you're going there, like, because they literally don't make sense. But again, it's like fire and ice. And
they're made for each other.
He was always like, there's somebody in the comments, like, was it, I can't remember now. Maybe it was Barbaro or Silver Surfer, where he's like, Hunter just looked confused. And I feel like Hunter looked confused a lot in episodes. But it was because he was that guy on the outside looking in. And I fell in love with that character, and to watch him just get tossed out with her and him just get tossed out. And everything about the end is, you're right. The way they handled all of this is wrong. And the whole thing in the bar. Now, I feel like now watching it, I feel like that moment was special, is still special because it's knowing everything we know now. I like that it's more like I see less of the characters saying goodbye, but the actors saying goodbye. And them having this moment that nobody else can touch, that like, while our company, our studio may have bungled this, we had some great moments together. And it's a way for the fans to acknowledge how much fun they had with these characters, so that pardon me for saying this, I know how it's going to sound as soon as I say it, but the end justified the means in that scene. For that scene, I think, is that the heart of that scene was for the actors to say goodbye, as much as they bungled all of that. Because they could have easily gotten Nick Blood back. There could have been any reason to just bring him back onto the show. Adrienne Palicki, I think, is a much bigger star with shows like The Orville. I think she has so much like potential for other things that Nick feels like a TV actor. Mm-hmm. Feels like your kind of procedural guy you'll see in just about anything. And to lose him to me was a real blow, because he was that guy the guy that kind of like Deke kind of plays later, the guy outside looking in.
Yeah.
And I really wish that this had all been handled better. But as we can talk about, like, not everything in this season worked. And even though I love this season, this is one of those moments where, you know, retroactively, to talk about it now, you bring up so many good points that it's not like it tarnishes the episode for me when I rewatch it, but it does make me think a lot more about how the people behind this series just bungle a lot of stuff.
Yeah, but honestly, man, that's super sweet. I love the fact I mean, and that's the great thing about the show, seeing it. And you're right, there is such a strong emotion to that, and I think there is a reason why it connects with people. And I love you looking at it as the actors saying goodbye in that sense, is not so much of like an in-world reality thing. It does hit a little bit harder. It's one of those things where it's like, I know I sometimes crap on stuff, but it doesn't mean that I'm not emotionally affected by it. Yes, Corey.
It kind of reminds me of the messages we were getting in season 7. You know, this is the last time your team will be together, Daisy Johnson. Right? Has that. It's kind of like that, where the show is kind of winking at the audience and saying, "Hey, we're telling you this is your last hurrah together, but we're also telling you, you know, this is the end of the show, and we are aware of that." And
Sure. The multi-level aspect of that. Right on. Don, what about yourself? Any thoughts on Ward's pursuer there, Hunter, and his eventual goodbye with his girl?
Listen, I understand. You know, he did it for the woman that he loved. He failed, but you know, it was an admirable try, all the same. Yeah, this was a tough one for me, you know, and I think maybe because of the fact that, you know, by the time this episode aired, you know, you basically heard like, yeah, the show was not happening, and it was like, oh, come on, man, you know, like, because they even had the promos like, yeah, you know, 2 agents are going, and you know they'll never be agents ever again. You know, they're off the show, and you'll never see them on Agents of Shield ever again. And then, you know, to find out who it was, because it was like, yeah, we heard about the Most Wanted show before that, but we didn't necessarily know that it was like, all right, these two are going to be out of the series, never to ever, you know, return again. And so then to get the promo, you know, these two, you know, like there's going to be 2 agents gone, never coming back, and then you find out it's Bobby and Hunter. It's like, oh man, that's kind of messed up, you know. But at least they're getting their own show. And then, like, right after that, it was like, yeah, about that. Yeah, you know, yeah. So you see, here's the thing, okay, guys. You know, so I was like, I can't believe that they did this to us. I mean, you know, talk about a sucker punch. And yeah, I really look, the episode, I'll be honest with you, not a great episode.
mushrooms.
Lot of Velveeta, lot of Velveeta and Kraft in the writers' room on this one here. You know, yeah, a lot. You know, maybe a couple of sprinkles of some Parmesan. You know, a little bit of grated Gouda in there. Lot of cheese in this episode, but that very last shot of Spies Goodbye, I was like, oh my god, that one hit me right here. You know, I'll be honest with you, I teared up. I teared up because it was like, oh damn, we're losing two great characters, two great actors, that have grown on me over the past season and a half. And, like at the time, it was like, yeah, okay, they're going to get their own show, but this is so sad. Phil had to go in there and say, yeah, no, these people do not work for S.H.I.E.L.D. They never have, they never will. And yeah, it was a little ham fisted with the whole thing of, well, yeah, oh yeah, and by the way, Mr. Russian president, they did save you. Huh? Huh? Yeah, they saved you. They did. So you're going to let them go, right? Wink, wink. You're going to let them go? Nudge, nudge. It's like, okay, yeah, I guess, yeah. Fuck it. Okay, fine. Let him go. I mean, whatever. I'm still president. I'm still alive. So, so it was one of those things where, yeah, there really were issues with the episode, but but still, um, you have to just in universe and the politics behind it. It was like, oh man, this is sad.
Well, again, I think it hits mostly because these were great characters, performed wonderfully, that really connected with us in a very short period of time. So I think, yeah, that makes losing them doubly hard.
One thing I never really got was Phil has a line where he says, "We thank you for your service," or something like that. But he's talking in front of the Russians. And if he's saying they never worked for S.H.I.E.L.D. and disavowing them, and he says, "Thank you for," they're supposed to be tourists. So I just didn't know why that line was even in there.
I think that was just a blank, like, thank you for your service to the world and helping people out type of thing. I don't think it was specifically like a military reference with that. I mean, at least that's not how I had heard it.
Devontae says here that Hunter failed a lot, but he always did it with style. And it's true, he had a great sense of humor. I still remember that line of like, join S.H.I.E.L.D., go to exotic places, meet new people, and kill them.
Yeah. Good times. Okay, so that's one of our big ones. We've got two other really areas, and I think that you kind of alluded to something there, Dawn. I want to talk off of things that work or don't always work. And I wanted to kind of touch on one of the big arcs within this season and really focused more in the second half is the Secret Warriors. Of course, the second half of the season opens up with the introduction of Yo-Yo, who is awesome. And really a big value to that. We get Joey's return for at least a little while. Do we think that did the Secret Warrior bit? I know that was also another of the big art advertisement bits that we had, was both the Secret Warrior and later on the Fallen Agent. That was another one. Which agent is going to die? And I'm sort of curious, not only with just the Secret Warriors or even that opening the season with a shot of the end. I know that plays in space time later on for us, specifically for an end point. Was that something that worked? So the kind of Secret Warrior idea, the Fallen Agent, the somebody is going to die because we've seen it. Did that work for you guys from a viewer standpoint? Was it kind of just okay? Did you not care about it at all? And let's try and keep this quick so we can be sure to have time to spend with the Hive and our wrap up here. So Corey, let's kick things off with you.
Okay. I actually really liked the Secret Warriors, even though it was a small arc and we didn't really get them. And Phil, he apologized to Daisy. Sorry that didn't work out, right? But I felt like it was a bit of an Easter egg towards the comics and maybe something that would come down the line bigger in terms of Marvel, maybe another TV show or a film. I just loved seeing the new Inhumans in action finally. You know, it was kind of like they're like, okay, guys, this is the big, the big mission. You got to prove yourself. And Joey's like over there nauseated, but you're cheering them on. And so that I felt like, like a mom seeing my kids go off to like school for the first day, like, I have fun storming the castle and cheering for you. You can do it. So I enjoyed it, and I liked that they were brought in because Phil really needed help. Mac approved of them to come in and help, and I liked that we didn't know how well they would work together. It was really kind of a trial by fire. You're the Lincoln makes a joke about we're here because they have no other option. We're the bottom of the barrel and they need help, and so that's why they're pulling us in. It's not because they think we can do it. But I loved seeing the team working together. I liked seeing them celebrate their little triumphs, and even though Daisy comes back infected, they have that scene in the locker room, right, where Joey, oh, did you see how Joey did this? And it was like boom, 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 and how they're celebrating together and celebrating the strengths of another person on the team. And so I really liked that. I loved Yo-Yo as a character. I've always loved her as a character throughout the whole season. She takes multiple bullets for Mac later on in the season. I love that she's learning English. So we have that one scene where she's waiting for the bus and she's listening to her audio. Hello, it is nice to see you. Like practicing her little phrases for Mac. Adored that couple. This is not about your work, it's about your turtle speed. Just like you look and then you stare and then you work. We have to go. I love that, and how each of their talents was needed to capture Hive. So Mac knew the technology to set everything up correctly. Yo-Yo had the speed to hook everything up in time. Lincoln had the electricity to supercharge the thing and make Hive go batty. So it was a simple episode, but I liked it, and it felt a bit like the old Shield. I said something about episode 12 Symposium. It felt like old Shield, like season 1, 2 Shield, where we're just spies on a mission.
Yeah.
So I loved it.
Cool. What about yourself, Don? What did you think of the Secret Warriors arc?
Secret Warriors, I liked it a lot. I wish we could have gotten some more, but it ended the way that I think it ended the way that the natural conclusion, with the end of Hive, and also the end of everyone's favorite character, Lincoln. So I mean, like, look, it was a cool thing to see, but at the end of the day, this is supposed to be a spy show, so they couldn't do too much in terms of having superpowered characters on a regular basis. Excuse me, not a whole nother team of them, to have Yo-Yo and Daisy there, cool. And if you notice, even in later seasons, they kind of nerfed them for the most part, because that's what it wasn't. It wasn't supposed to be a superhero show at its core. So, they did what they had to do with regards to that, and I think they told a compelling story with the time that they did have. But it would have been nice to, now if they wanted to do a spinoff, that should have been a spinoff, Secret Warriors. But then again, would you really want to lose Daisy to another show? So give and take on that one.
Right on. Rob, what about yourself? Any thoughts on the Secret Warrior work or any of the kind of like marketing bits that they did for this second half of the season?
Just to keep it moving, it just feels like, they were trying to do too much this season. They were trying to jam too many things in. The Secret Warriors, to me, just could have been left on the ground, like just left alone. I know that we had, this was the introduction of Yo-Yo, which was great. The whole thing with showing the vision at the beginning and then forgetting about it for a really, really, really long time lost its impact with me. And it just shows, again, that as much as I love this show, they bungle things. And the Secret Warriors, to me, was bungled. I felt like it was an episode we really didn't need. Mm-hmm. That's all I got.
Yeah. All right. No. Like the quick hit, and funny how it actually really does end. It's like Joey says, "I don't think I want to be here anymore," and we never see him again. So it's like it really did end pretty quickly right there. All right. Well, let's get with our last little bit. I think we're going to be talking about HIVE. Dr. Radcliffe showing up, the formation of our alpha primitives, and the wrap up of the season. Even a little bit of Malick there. We've got a lot of stuff kind of happening here. So just kind of, I guess, in general terms, what do you think about the final bit with HIVE? Was he right with all of it? I got to say, I do love Ward coming back as HIVE. It does give a real interesting character arc. In the chat, they did mention that Will was originally, I guess, supposed to come back as Secret HIVE, but apparently he had some personal issues, snapping at directors, a few things, and he got fired, and they kept Ward in for the rest. That's something I didn't know. But hey, man, leave it to Brett Dalton to be like, yeah, I'll come back and be a super badass. God, I could do that. And like I said, it does give sort of an interesting second arc for that character. But yeah, what did you guys think of HIVE's final bit, his story, the creation of the Suede in humans, all of that as they sort of wrapped up this season? Was this the right arc to go in? Do we think that he succeeded as a big bad? Or was he something that we were like just waiting to move on to the next thing? Rob, I'm going to kick things off with you, man.
I think if you look at it, right, there was kind of this evolution of the villain in this season where you start off with Ward, and then, he thinks he's going to be the big end all be all this season. Then you get Malick, who's the big puppet master, and Malick with his own schemes and plans that have been going on forever. And then you find out that there's just yet another level that Malick can't even touch, an evil, bigger and less controllable, something that wasn't even created by humans. It was in this. I feel like by the time you get to HIVE and you see that the puppet master is now nothing compared to this person, and what a big threat he was to everything, that you needed to bring in the other big bad from earlier that we really didn't get to touch on much, which is Lash, right? The guy who's killing Inhumans indiscriminately. We have no idea what his purpose is. And so I think it all really comes together as far as the villains go. I know in the chat, they've talked about how good the villains were in this. And I think that he did his job effectively as being like showing that there's always something, a bigger fish. There's always somebody that's going to come around and pull the rug out from under you. There's always somebody worse. And to have the face of Ward too, and remind the audience of this guy who has everyone that he's ever, taken over inside him, and have Brett Dalton do it so good, so freaking good. And that moment also when he had to play, when they hit him with the weapon that they were kind of saving, and they set up that had the whole turtle moment where Brett Dalton had to play all the different memories he'd experienced over all the series so far. and just it was this culmination of just of Ward's what Ward wanted, what this Inhuman God wanted, what Gideon Malick wanted, and I thought that like it really crescendoed great because there really felt like there was he got Daisy. It felt like there was nothing that could stop them. They did such a great job effectively in the back half of this season to really wonder how the hell are they getting out of this? Because it really felt hopeless, especially because Daisy was so into it. She was behaving as if she finally found what she'd always been looking for, and this creature was the one to do it. And I kind of found myself pretty surprised at how effective this was for me. Again, also the way that they made him look so gaunt early on when Brett Dalton is such a cut dude. The way Brett Dalton played that was magnificently, and I thought it all worked. And I loved how his thoughts about humans and how his job was to control Inhumans before, and now he would never do it. But his own hypocrisy, which reminds me of Ward's hypocrisy, and just all the different stuff that was going on in that made him such a complicated villain. And then, of course, to be able to bring Lash in at the end and all that, and even his end, when he realizes that he knows he's defeated, and instead of going out like this screaming madman or something, he gives into the I'm about to experience the only thing that I could never get before, and he was calm and accepting of it. And it was just such an interesting way to play a guy who was planning on taking everything over like a great big virus. It just really, really, it's one of the best things they did all year, was have this evolution of these villains who all felt like they were the big fish. And to have like the way it all came down to it and fall apart at the end when all seemed like everything was in his favor, I thought was just so well done.
Yeah, man, fucking can't agree more with you on that one. The last few episodes of this season were just astounding. Dawn, you got any thoughts there on your Hydra god himself?
We are all here for connection. He wanted to connect with all of you, and yet you shunned him. But yet here I am. I am connecting with all of you on behalf of HIVE and Ward. Peace be upon his name. See, here we have, as Rob said, the evolution of a great man into a god. Yes, he was killed by that murderous, fiendish Philip J. Coulson, crushed, caved in his chest with a metal hand, and left his body to rot on an alien planet.
You're here.
So sad that someone who's supposed to be a paragon of justice would do such a terrible thing. But yet, from the ashes, like a phoenix, Ward rose again and became something even greater than anyone could have possibly imagined. And had it not been for these people's lack of vision, he would have been able to unite the world under one banner of peace and tranquility. All he wanted to do was make the world a better place. And even, everyone's favorite character, Lincoln, was able to see that in the end. And he agreed. Listen, at the end of the day, look, not only did they give Ward a new purpose and a new mission, they even gave him a new look. If you think about it, right? During the first half of the season, we got kind of classic Ward, little long hair in the front, a little scoop on the side, right? And then later on, he got kind of more like almost a buzz cut when he was Hive. The one thing I will say that I did not enjoy, that I really, really did not enjoy, was him killing fine ass Stephanie Malick. Oh my God, she was beautiful. How dare you? Okay, you might be a god, but you're flawed. You are a flawed god. Okay, Hydra Ward Hive. Oh man.
It wasn't the honey? I thought you were going to say the honey was what you didn't appreciate.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. Whatever. Look, the point is, look, great evolution of a villain, and then even at the end where like it drove Daisy crazy that she couldn't be connected with him. Drove her crazy to the point where she was like, if I can't be with you, then you must die. Like, what the hell was that about? You know? And then, I mean, look, you got the introduction of Holden Ratcliffe. Oh my God.
Oh, the worm.
John Hannah is a
Oh,
god.
Yes. I can't wait to rewatch season 4 again. That is going to be so magical. And just the little breadcrumbs that they were setting up for future seasons. This was, like you guys were saying, the last few episodes, such a great run. You know, uh, and like I said, I wish we would have gotten more Secret Warriors. And yes, there wasn't really a team per se by the time they got to the end, but we still had, our leftover crew of Lincoln, Yo-Yo, and Daisy. They didn't get to really work together in the same way. But I mean, look, I didn't really have an issue with with them showing the end of the season. And it's the funny thing, because I had totally forgotten about the Robin thing. I had totally forgotten about, it was Robin's pops who had the inhuman powers, and then she winds up having the same powers later on, and the whole thing with the little wooden Robin. I had totally forgotten about all that. So to see that again, I was like, oh man, they were setting up so much that was going to pay off in future seasons. We had absolutely no idea what was coming. And looking back on it now, it was like, oh man, like, did they really have this planned out that far in advance? Or did they just say, okay, you know what? In case we ever want to return to this character, let's leave this thing open ended. So this way we can always pick back up. Because think about it. They didn't actually have to do anything with Robin if they didn't want to, but they found a brilliant way of bringing that character back later on. With Ratcliffe, they could have just left it as him being the guy who wanted to experiment with Inhumans. But no, we get a whole setup for the next season, and next season is beyond awesome. And so it's one of those things where I'm like, man, they did so much here in the final few episodes. And I'm like, I don't understand how more people weren't watching this show. I don't understand it. And there are people who I've told about the show who are just like, no, I have no interest in it. I'm like, dude, you say that you're into comic books, and yet the best comic book show that is on right now is the one that you refuse to watch. Yep. You're stuck on the CW, which is marginal at best. Marginal at best. You know, the Netflix shows, yes, for the most part they're good, but you get one every year if you're lucky for a few episodes, and then it's like, oh, okay, well, I binged that over the weekend. I got nothing else to watch on Netflix for the next 9 months. Uh, yeah, I mean, and
The calls by people that are watching WandaVision going, oh, I want an Agent Woo spinoff like he investigates things. Everyone I know is like, yeah, it was called Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and none of you watched it.
And all of the time travel from WandaVision that everyone's screaming about is all amazing and like groundbreaking. I'm like, did you watch Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. season 7? Clearly not.
yeah, so
S.H.I.E.L.D. did it first.
yeah, so I mean, I don't want to go on too long because I do have a question I want to ask you guys later before we end, but yeah, I mean, they did such a great job with the final, like the final four in this season that man, and like I said, the thing with the jacket being passed around, the jacket and the crucifix, it was like who's gonna get it next? And every time you see it was like, wait, no, you can't. No. Oh my god. But then it gets to the final person, and you people, all of you out there, what did, no, I'm gonna ask you guys in a minute, but oh my god, all right, jeez. Look, it was a fitting end for these two characters. Um, and the man, no more Brett Dalton, really?
Well, again, it's S.H.I.E.L.D. They'll find something. Yeah, I know, exactly. Corey, did you want to throw in your thoughts there on the Hive arc?
Sure. I have a few comments. One thing, though, when Dawn was talking about Robin, I had made a note and I said, Phil's dad is showing, because he said a comment about make sure they have a security team watching the house and buy the little girl something nice. I'm like, oh, okay. He's being a dad again. He's taking care of everybody. I really liked that they used the like vengeance, revenge, and faith, and that had like that religious theme going through, and that really paid off at the end of the Hive arc with Lincoln's character. It started with Mac speaking with Daisy and how she didn't want anyone to forgive her, and she just wanted to punish herself for what is essentially an addiction that she didn't even start on her own. Like, not her fault. And I love these conversations that she has with Mac where, she says, Hive may not be the devil, but he's the closest thing I've ever seen. He makes you, while you're hurting the people you love, he makes you enjoy it. And then Mac has this great line about, the other thing the devil is capable of is filling a person with so much anger and dark thoughts that it consumes them. But it's up to that person to make a choice. Let the darkness fester and grow, or let the light inside shine through and vanquish the darkness. And I love that line and how we see that not happening with Ward, but is happening with Phil. Mm-hmm. How, like Phil turns from this vengeance and realizes, okay, that was definitely wrong and not the path I want to go down, and I'm going to try and fix things now that I know I've messed things up. Whereas Ward is hell-bent, literally, pun intended, on having his revenge. And it's perfect that he is killed on a planet that everyone keeps describing as a hell on Earth, and then comes back as this demon, Mavith. And then we have Yo-Yo doing the same thing, where she's telling Mac, you have to have faith. She tells him, you need a beer and some faith. And he's having his crisis.
Sure.
And then she goes on and has this great line about that's how evil wins, when good people begin to doubt and run the other way instead of standing up and fight. in Colombia, we have a saying, evil preys on the weak because it fears the strong. And then at the end, we have this beautiful like imagery symbolism of Lincoln being a Christ-like figure, where he takes the cross and he says, you know, saving the girl I love and the world at the same time seems like a pretty good plan to me. And
Oh yeah.
is crying about, no, you have to make him stop. He's paying for my mistakes. And Phil has that line of, no, he's paying for all our mistakes. He's paying for what Phil did. He's paying for the whole thing, the whole, even starting the Inhumans, the Kree thing, like he's ending what has been the problem forever. And, you know, so we have him essentially being the Christ-like figure and Hive being the devil figure. And I just thought it was so neat how they took such a iconic and age-old story that has been around forever and were able to find a new twist to it that worked. And of course, this, you know, leads to Daisy's downward spiral in the next season. But
sure.
But yeah, that was kind of what I appreciated and enjoyed about it. And I loved that we had characters this season who had a strong moral and religious center, or they were strongly religious. Like Phil mentions, he has a religious background. Mac definitely identifies as Christian. I think Yo-Yo is Catholic, but I love that they presented these characters as rational, logical, thinking humans who have doubts about their faith and question their faith, and they're not really sure about it, and they rely on each other for support. And oftentimes religious characters are either played as the villain, like Cardinal Richelieu in the Three Musketeers, or they're just incompetent or stupid.
Well, a lot of times I think religion gets played very heavy-handed in some shows. It's this all-encompassing thing, and that's one thing that I did like about S.H.I.E.L.D. is while it employs religion and faith as character motivations, and part of that, it is not an overarching, hit you over the head with trying these lessons. It's just naturally integrated in with the show.
Yeah, which I love too. Like Mac doesn't sit down with Daisy and like try to explain to her how she's going through this difficult time. She asks him. She says like, "Hey Mac, you're a man of faith, right? What do you think of this?" You know, so it's a very, not, as you said, hitting someone over the head with a stick or, you know, beating them with a Bible or something. It's just very a part of like, I'm Black, or I'm Asian, or I'm Latino, and also I'm a religious person, right? Like it's just part of their identity along with everything else, and it's normal instead of presented as weird. Which I liked how they dealt with that. And you know, we had our first Latino superhero, and we had our first what was it? Yeah, like Hispanic Latino, our first Asian superhero in Daisy. So there's a lot of firsts on this show too, which I also, side note, we get Pepper for the first time, or Piper, I mean, sorry, not Pepper.
Yes, Piper shows up for the first time in Failed Experiments.
Yes, so that's fun.
Oh, good point. I personally, I love the Hive bit. I love what Brett Delton did with it, and I love the last 3 episodes of this season are like non-stop hardcore S.H.I.E.L.D. spy deception. I mean, the whole package. Lincoln's feint. This is where Lincoln starts to get interesting, at least for this season, is when he does the whole feint when Talbot's in the office and they get like he's escaping, and it's all done to bring Lash up to Hive, which, like you pointed out, Rob, a perfect summation. A villain at the beginning of the season becomes the heroic character towards the end of the season, who is responsible for trying to stop him and bringing Daisy back. That emotion when she's returned, the whole bit afterwards when they capture Hive and they're even stunned themselves. My God, did we just capture Hive? The episode ends with Daisy giving herself up because that's what the addiction is. She doesn't want to fight. She wants to get back into it. I mean, God, Chloe Bennett did so much wonderful stuff this season. Really, I did not appreciate the first time I watched through is the work that she puts into this, and the character stuff that she gets to explore is incredible.
And he calls her out on that too. At the end, he says, I know why you went back. I know because I've been there, because I had an addiction too. I know you went back to Hive to ask him to take you back, not to kill him.
I know. And to me, that was one of the best parts of really admitting and dealing with what the reality of addiction can do. I thought that was really strong. The fight then between Hive and Daisy, which is hand to hand with powers mixed in. We had a lot of her using powers in punches and blocks, which was super cool. And I don't remember seeing it before, honestly, afterwards, some of the stuff they did in that fight. Yeah, the bit with Lincoln was awesome. Fitz shooting gear at the end with the invisible gun. I'm telling you, you're not going to see it's coming. It's there, and it's going to get you. Everyone's wait, except you. You were a terrible person even before all of that. And yeah, the final moments between Hive and Lincoln I thought was great. One, that Hive doesn't try to sway Lincoln. It's pointless. He's not going to get anything out of it. So in a way, it's the two of them not being alone at the end, sharing that moment together. I mean, it was just, there was such a peace and calm. And yes, while Daisy's falling apart about it all and everybody else is no, bring them back. God, there was just something really just serene.
It's his real connection that he's been searching for the whole time. Hive actually gets that connection without having to sway people.
Right. And does it right at the end. Seems very appropriate. Though I did have a couple of thoughts on Hive's journey here. One is actually a review you guys can watch right now from this man right down here. It was released this morning. And that was for, great, now I lost it, Paradise Lost, which is a really interesting insight into Gideon's youth, but more importantly, that Nathaniel, his brother, is one of the Hive hosts. And as Don so beautifully put, this does lead to Stephanie's death. My question to you guys is, why? Why did he kill Stephanie? Why does he care what happened to Nathaniel? Is he just messing with Malick? Is there some other purpose? Or is this, look, we all know the truth. You never mess with family. You kill family, people react strongly to it. So, I mean, just out of curiosity, why do you guys think Hive did what it did? What was his connection? Why did he care about the Nathaniel Malick relationship? Or again, was this just him messing with people because this is what Hive does? Is this his fatal flaw? Anybody? Yeah.
I think it was the brother getting revenge. He's been stuck on a planet for how many years? And he's, because they had agreed together to the end. And
sure. But he's just a memory in Hive. He's not Hive himself, right?
I don't know if the memories in and of themselves want revenge.
Okay. No, I mean, I would buy that. I would totally buy that. I'm honestly curious.
It's either, I was going for that it was actually the embodiment of his brother getting revenge for the deceit that Malick had carried out all those years ago.
Okay.
But it could also just be Hive messing with him and making him suffer.
Rob, do you have any thoughts on why Hive went after Malick like that?
Well, I think part of it has to do with what Hive was created for in the first place. Partially was that he was supposed to control the Inhumans for his masters. And I feel like in Gideon Malick, he sees this is just another guy who wants to enslave, he really needed to put him in his place. I feel like he was torturing him. I think he enjoys what he does to people. Because he talks about freeing his people from the rest of the normies. And I think it was also just because you got Powers Booth and you want to really, really give him something to work with. Because after the aftermath of watching his daughter die, because I mean, when I talked about it, I mean, it's like he's ready to just take me, and he's like, no, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna take the thing that you love. Like even what it kind of goes back to what Don was talking about with people taking things from people that, like you took my love, I take your love. Like I feel there's a part of that in there. And I think that the memories may not control Hive, but I think that there is their own kind of sway in a way. Mm-hmm. Wow. I didn't mean that to rhyme. That it just, I think he enjoys it. I think it's all a bunch of just different things in Hive's head. And to me, watching it as an audience member, I thought that he meant that he was going to kill him and have the daughter be in charge with him. Like you thought, like you're the old man, you're on your way out. But it was that I didn't see that coming, and it just made it more impactful. And it gives Gideon Malick, I think, to lay low and realize just how big a mistake he made. Like, and to have those scenes where he has to go to shield his mortal enemy to like try to fix this, where he's just given up. Like it's so like the people that I've been trying to stop this whole time are the only ones who can save everything. I just think that I think a lot of things, but I really was enjoying that moment. I think that learned a teaching lesson, something that maybe he experienced from his Kree masters, where, I think he's got a definite chip on his shoulder. Like his whole origin story is a horror story. And so I think he's got a lot of pent up emotions about people who want to try to control him. And I think Malick thought he saw Malick and he was like, this guy is trying to use me. He thinks that, he's playing everybody else and he thinks he can play me too. Well, guess what? I'm going to play back.
Okay. No, I totally go with that. That totally makes sense. Don, you have any secret insights into your Hydra God?
Well, remember, he's not just Hive. He is all the hosts he has ever inhabited. So, for him, yes, Gideon Malick was a means to an end, but at the same point, too, he was also still Nathaniel Malick. And Nathaniel Malick remembered what happened to him all those years ago and how Gideon has got to live his life. And remember, he told him it's about sacrifice. You think by, you sacrificing yourself now after you're in your 60s or maybe even 70s means something? No, you still got to live your life. No. I'm going to make you actually sacrifice. I take your daughter. You have to watch the person that you thought was going to continue your legacy literally disintegrate before your eyes. And also now, you have to live with that. You have to live with the fact that you screwed over your brother. And now there's a part of your brother who just got revenge on you in one of the worst ways possible.
Okay.
Hive may not have Nathaniel's face, but Nathaniel is right up here.
All right. I totally go with that. Want to make a real quick mention here in the chat, mentioning about Piper and Joey. Well, another big first on this. Joey, first gay and first Latin hero. Piper, first gay agent. So a lot of big firsts in that on this episode. Also, Piper Venskis Her Twitter and Instagram is awesome. I would highly recommend anyone joining on. She is hilarious. So definitely you should try and check that out. Yeah, Corey?
Just one comment. Will was saying that, Hive is forcing Malick to sacrifice, which he hasn't done before. And I think that's one of the big differences between Hydra and S.H.I.E.L.D. May even calls it out. She says in one of the episodes, S.H.I.E.L.D. is about sacrifice for the greater good, even over the ones you love. And that's why he shoots Andrew. And Phil's like, how did you know that would work? And she said, I didn't. So literally she's willing to sacrifice the man she loved for the greater good, whereas Malick is not willing to sacrifice his daughter and is forced to sacrifice. So we have these kind of interesting this two sides of the coin, as you said.
Well, also you could even look at further on that is the fact that sacrifice is supposed to be an intentional personal act. So you can't sacrifice for someone else. You sacrifice for yourself. May was sacrificing her relationship with Andrew when she shot, whereas Hive was choosing someone to murder and calling it somebody else's sacrifice. So again, evilness. Now, there is one moment where I'm curious that Hive's whole plan could have gone entirely different. Success would have been in his reach. And that is in space-time. My question is, why didn't he sway Charles Hinton? The bum who could see the future, Robin's dad, he never sways him. He captures him, he brings him around, he uses him to show the board members their future deaths. But then it's because Charles was free that he is allowed to save Daisy, show Malick the vision of the future that kind of throws him off base and makes him doubt Hive, and of course saves Daisy and gives her that vision of the future. It only could have happened because he didn't sway Charles Hinton. Why? I mean, he may not have thought about it. Charles was afraid of him. Maybe he could just figure, I'll just tell him to do it. But as Hive, someone who is designed to control Inhumans around him, I was just curious if any of you guys thought of that or what you think about the fact if he had swayed Charles, then Charles wouldn't have saved Daisy, wouldn't have done that. Would Hive then would have succeeded? Do you think? Because Daisy would have been dead, probably.
I don't know. Maybe he didn't want to know the answer.
Fair enough.
If he had swayed him, then perhaps he wouldn't even have come in contact with Daisy. So then Daisy would have never been at the location and been quaked and nearly killed. I don't know if that changes anything greatly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I again, just sort of curious afterwards, after that he got rescued. It was just one that I rewatched the episode and I was like, wait a minute. How come this Inhuman's just wandering around by himself? He's free to do anything. Anyway, it was just a thought. Do you think that would have changed stuff if Daisy didn't get saved? If Charles didn't save her? Yeah. Okay.
What if? That's the Marvel show. The What If. That's what on Disney Plus. Coming to Disney Plus.
Exactly. All right.
The man, he's asking all the right questions.
Here we go.
Let's
have another little quick shot here, real quick. What was a big stand up and cheer moment for you guys? What this season did you watch? We're like, yeah! Sorry, Mike. I think I just blew out everyone's speakers at home.
Well, I'll jump in first then. Coulson having his Captain America moment and diving off the plane into the portal. I was just like, hell yeah!
Yeah, that was totally mine too.
Yeah. The Lash being on the plane, reveal of Lash being the one on the plane was like, yes, it was beast mode then. It was monster versus monster. I loved that because I forgot it after all these years that that's what they were going for. And it did, for a moment, give Lincoln a good moment that he kind of sold us all that he was just being more Lincoln than he always is. And that he wasn't for once on the show. So that was a great. I thought that was just freaking amazing. Those two moments really stand out for me. There's a lot, but those are the two big ones for me. I think as far as no, it's a different story. So yeah, those two pretty much.
Yeah, Corey.
Not like a necessarily jump up and scream, but like, oh my word kind of moment was when Phil has the shield and he protects May, because it is an absolute copycat of Steve Rogers and Natasha when the bomb hits the bunker they're in with not Arnim, is it Arnim Zola?
Arnim Zola, yeah.
And he does the same thing and he protects Natasha, and so I'm like, oh my word, so Phil is officially the Captain America in this Shield world, and May is his Natasha Romanoff. Yes, I love it. Okay, that made me very happy. The May scene, I already mentioned it with the Fight Club where she just like sweeps the floor with those guys. I also loved all of her fight scenes when they're in Taiwan at the symposium. That was good. Also, where she just shows up, where her Phil, it's like, we need to find this Inhuman that's in the cube, and then this van just pulls up, and the doors open, and a Hydra guy falls over dead, and May's like, "Yep, he's in the back." You know, she's already done the whole mission. I love May.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Oh, and then Fitz with the briefcase. When they're meeting with Dr. Radcliffe and the guards come in to take them away, and he just like beans the one guy. He's like, no, you need to talk to me. This is important. And you took Simmons and I am now angry. Like,
yeah.
It's the very beginning of his, change into more of a capable spy-like, physically aggressive Fitz. And then of course the doctor later on. But
oh yeah, the doctor. What about yourself there, Don? Any big moments that you remember?
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Lash versus Hive. That was a really good battle because kind of unexpected. You know, unfortunately, we didn't get the outcome that we were looking for. But I mean, like, there were still like 3 or 4 episodes left in the season, so you already knew it was like, yeah, Hive isn't going to get taken out this early because there can't possibly be another big bad after this. And like unless they were going to make Lash the big bad again somehow. Let's see, what was another one? May, May beating up on Gera. During one of their earlier meetings, Fitz putting him down with the invisible gun. Let's see here. This might sound messed up, but Rosalind killing Ward. Rosalind getting the bullet in the neck from Ward.
Yep. Yes, finally. Oh,
because that was so unexpected. It was one of those things where, like you almost forgot about Ward in that particular regard. You forget that this is the specialist. He was the guy who survived in the woods with nothing but a gun and a dog for months. And you forget that he's a pretty good shot, and he's ruthless. So, yeah, I mean, it was look, it was messed up, but it was one of those moments that Agents of Shield needed in terms of um just saying, look, the stakes are high. There are consequences for actions from season to season.
Mhm.
Yeah, because if Ward would have forgotten about that, then it would have proved these two correct. you know. Uh, yeah, Rob brought up the whole "Help Me, Obi-Wan Kenobi." That was actually a pretty good thing too.
References. Phil calls it. I'll be whatever. I'm on Tatooine when he arrives.
Oh yeah.
The double suns or moons.
One thing that didn't necessarily make me stand up and cheer, but that it was a good kind of buddy cop moment. Coulson and Talbot, where he meets him at the airport, and he's like, technically I'm your boss, right? And he was like, but I'd rather be partners. He was like, let's get one thing straight. You are not now, and never will be my boss, and we'll never be partners. So, Talbot, it's funny because no matter what no matter what medium Talbot is in, he is insufferable. You just want to choke him, yeah, or throw him in. You want him to have been framed so he can be tossed in the brig and then court-martialed and then become a homeless bum living under under the highway in Los Angeles or something like that. But yet somehow he still keeps popping up, and with that same smug look on his face. And I'm sorry, why do they make men in the military have those mustaches? I don't get it, but it is what it is.
It's part of the code, I think. Somewhere it's written down. Yeah, definitely some agreement with Coulson's Star Wars moment. I did love that. That wasn't actually a whole awesome scene, and great visual effects. Mark Kolpak and Fuse Effects always does amazing work. With Hive's face, who we finally get a full mock-up front conversation of Hive's look there. I thought that was awesome. Dun, dun, dun. Oh, I do want to take a moment and honor one of the unspoken forces of season 3, really one of the primary drivers, and that's Shotgun Axe. Shotgun Axe, who in episode 1 of the season was first thought up as Mac is trying to figure out how to deal with this Lash and these different combinations, gets a working model in Watch Dogs. Again, not a great episode. We get Shotgun Axe. We get a reference to Nitramine from Agent Carter. So it does have something. And then, of course, at the end, the actual working model of Shotgun Axe in Mac's hand. Look, man, really, I think that was one of the little things that kept me alive the whole season. Though one of the things that we did unfortunately drop, not a lot of drop storylines this season, but one definitely stands out, was mentioned early on in the chat. What the heck happened to Agent Blake?
Yes, I have that written down right here.
He was supposed to be leading the Watchdogs, and we never saw him again. I mean, I don't know. Look, Titus Wilbur is a working actor. The guy's got tons of stuff going on. He's a busy man. But it was one of those little bummer points where it was like, hey, Blake's back. And he's gone again. So anyway, any thoughts on Blake, final thoughts? Any other dropped storyline bits that I am forgetting? Moments that we wish would carry further and didn't?
I like that Phil uses the tech that Blake is using originally to trap Hive. So he takes everything that he's learning and coming across and uses it again. What happened to Blake? Like, I understand his back was broken, but I mean, Phil tells him, I tried to find you. I kept looking for you. You were nowhere to be found. He was clearly in hiding.
I think probably with the with Hydra's rise after of that and the whole reveal, he probably just went into hiding or just disappeared. But yeah, it is one of those that could have been an interesting side story if they wanted to pursue that.
Like, how did he go from being an agent that trained with Phil, who was acquaintances, if not friends, to hating Phil and joining a terrorist organization? What?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Especially considering it wasn't Inhumans that put him in the chair. It was a powered person, but that one that was actually made by Hydra, not, so yeah.
It's all a miscommunication.
That's right. He just missed part of the note. He forgot who to be mad at.
He's like, Garrett, did this whole thing happen because you heard my one-man speech?
Barbaro in the chat mentions that he probably touched Lola. And that would have got him on the wrong side of Phil. That definitely would have. Yeah.
I've got one major question.
Yeah.
Before we go. I've been waiting almost this entire time to ask this. Mm-hmm. Why? Why does everyone hate Lincoln?
I
don't hate Lincoln. I don't like the arc they gave him this season. I think they made him whiny and they tried to give him that. The addiction thing was kind of cool, but it was more just, he was just whiny. I'm with you. I'm not with you. I'm for this. I'm not for this. I'm overreactionary. I'm under control. It's just, they just made him like a little bit of like scene chaos.
And he kept, disobeying orders. Like, he knows he's being tested to be an agent. He knows they're evaluating him for potential in the field, and yet he's constantly breaking rank. I found that's what I found annoying.
Yeah. Now, like I said, at the end, that arc played in, and I think him dealing with addiction and kind of making that step and making that sacrifice, I think all of that worked. I think just a lot of the interim stuff in order to, I don't know, keep him interesting or find, it's just one of those where it feels like they didn't really know what to do with him. So they just used him for chaos purposes in scenes, made him unpredictable.
I have a question. If you remember, when you first saw this episode, did you pin Andrew as being Lash? Because I immediately pinned him as Lash, and I felt like it can't be that simple. There's got to be somebody else. But did they show their hand too early? Did they not do a good job of covering up their tracks? Did anybody else?
I think the show is good at giving hints that not everybody picks up on. I think it's one of the reasons why I harp on certain episodes that other people, perfectly enjoy. I think that's why some of us see things from 1,000 miles away, and some of us are still surprised with it when it happens. I think personally, I don't think I had guessed that it was Andrew as Lash ahead of time until they got the reveal. I didn't care enough about Andrew to think about him. Probably was the case, but
I did the fake out visions that they gave Andrew, where he was with Joey or he was with Lincoln, and it looked like he'd murdered them in his Lash form.
Oh,
and
yeah.
I realized it's actually him in his head imagining this. That really made him kind of split personality, like not really all there.
Oh, yeah. And another, you get a good actor in a role, they're going to make it their own and bring extra layers to it. And I certainly think he did with Andrew as well.
Another thing, in the season, Hunter is asking May whether or not she left Andrew. And his bet is that May left because she couldn't stand the talking. And then May tells him, no, he left. But then later on in the season, she tells Andrew she's sorry that she left and she wished they could have fixed things, when she realizes that the reason Andrew walked away was because he was an Inhuman. So did she lie to Hunter? Is Hunter
But-
right?
Probably.
Did
but-
he win that bet?
But I think in more of that point, I think Andrew pulled away, so he emotionally left. And then May was like, what are you doing? I'm not going to deal with it. And then she probably physically left. So in some ways, I think they're both right, depending on which you're looking at. But I don't know. That's a good one. Rob, did you have something?
There was one thing that happened in it. You almost blink and you'll miss it. That really was like a disappointment. Not a dropped storyline. Well, kind of, if you look at it certain eyes, is that so much of our show has also been about bringing down Hydra. That to make sure that Hive can't use Hydra, we have an off-screen takedown of Hydra.
Mm-hmm.
And I hated that we couldn't have an episode where Coulson and May and all the team got to be a part of a big Hydra takedown. It was just like, boop, it's done. Guess what? We had a bunch of teams. They all went in. It's over. Hydra's done. And I thought, well, that's just a little too quick and just like one of those lines, like just erase the protocol droid's mind, like where it's just, we need to answer something quick and finish something off quick. And instead of giving, like, we got the Secret Warriors got a whole episode that went nowhere in the end after all of that, just to show some power, people working together. But taking down, finally putting the, crossing Hydra off is a big deal. And not getting to see that was a big disappointment.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree with you on that one. I think it was what I think Phil does may have some certain line like, this would normally have been a great day for me, but you're right. It was almost done off screen. You see a couple of moves. And honestly, I think them getting rid of Hydra was a horrible move. I understand that after a couple of seasons, you're like, we got to get rid of them to move on and have some sort of story culmination. But yeah, I was kind of disappointed with the way that played out also.
Didn't expect Talbot to be the inside man.
Yeah, that was the kidnapping of his kid to use him. That's like classic spycraft stuff. It's almost too straightforward to have thought, especially him. And they did a great bit when they had him fighting with his wife at the beginning airport, and you think it's because he's got this new job, and then you find out, no, it's because his son's been kidnapped and now he's getting played for it. Yeah, that was a really nice bit.
Yeah. So technically Talbot was a villain too. I think we had something like 12 villains this season. It was crazy. Lash, Sword, Hive, the Inhumans, Malick, Dr. Radcliffe, Talbot, the Watchdogs. I'd include Rosalind.
Sure. Antagonists, even if they change. I mean, yeah, Radcliffe was a villain and then became an ally effectively, but I love
that Talbot reads him perfectly. He's like, I can tell by your beady little eyes that you are a worm. And I'm like, now I know Talbot.
That is true. That is true. All right. Well, God, we're hitting almost 3 hours. I think this is probably a good time to wrap things up. I know it goes quick, doesn't it? And there's still so much stuff we could get into. By the way, Barbaro and Devontae Smith both chiming in on Lincoln. Barbaro doesn't like Lincoln because he's one outburst away from being an abusive boyfriend. Where Devontae says, I wrote it in the chat, he was an over-emotional, stupid, and boring at the same time.
Yeah, Lincoln was just they couldn't decide on how to write him. He was just so back and forth, and I during my reviews, and you'll see it in the ones coming up, where it's just like I try to look at it with an open mind of like, it's not the actor's fault, I think the actor's fine, and I never quite could warm up to him, but I never blamed the actor, but it just felt like he was used to be a foil whenever they needed him to be a foil. And so it's just like his level of intelligence would go up and down all the time. And it's frustrating for an audience. And if you already are on the fence about a character in the first place, and I joked, well, maybe they were just trying to soften the blow for when we get the ultimate end for this character, that we won't really care that much. But, it's sometimes characters that should have been, something better just get sacrificed in the writing room. And I find a lot of characters that are near Daisy get that same kind of treatment, where they don't really, they seem to force a love interest there. And then they just go, well, what else do we got for them? Well, we got the budget for another powered person, but we're not going to kill off any of our agents ever. So we need somebody to die. So let's just give it to old Lincoln there. And I don't know. I feel bad for the character, because I understand why everybody in the chat dislikes him. I just feel like he had a much better potential than the writers gave him, because they wanted things to go a certain way. They needed things to go a certain way, and they weren't going to sacrifice any of our main characters to do it.
Yeah.
Well, they did tell us in the show that anybody who's around Daisy dies. They just didn't specify it was in the boyfriend category.
She's a lead. Everyone's around Daisy.
A lead boyfriend around Daisy will die and or leave the show.
All right. Well, let's go ahead and give us any final thoughts that we have before we wrap things up. Corey, let's kick things off with you.
Just that it was a fun season. I loved getting more backstory on the relationships. Andrew and May, Phil and where he is with that, Daisy and Lincoln, Yo-Yo and Mac, we get the beginning of that relationship. So yeah, so I like seeing those elements, a more human side of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. and less the superhero save the world side.
Perfect. Don, any final thoughts on the season?
Listen, like I said, it was very, very sad event that we lost such a great character twice in the same season. But better to have had Grant Ward and to have lost him than to have never had Grant Ward at all, right? Little messy here and there, but I think overall, this showed the potential of what they were able to do with the multiple storylines in one season. Whereas, most other shows get bogged down with, we have to tell this whole one story arc, and then after a while, it just starts to lose steam and starts to meander along. And they found ways of refreshing and having it take on new life. And it wasn't perfected in this particular season, but that's where the genesis of it really came from, and that's how they were able to keep things, to keep the ball rolling. So I was really happy with that.
Right on. All right, and yourself, Rob. Any final wrap-ups of this season?
Well, I try, since we're still, I'm still rolling out a few more episodes before the end of this season to talk about on my channel. It's interesting to try to separate the fan from the critic and still find so much enjoyment in this season that I consider it to be the second best season. I've really enjoyed listening. I know Silver Surfer, puts this near the bottom, and I love seeing how everybody's opinions on these different seasons is different. And I myself, like looking back and judging all these, I'm finding out so many more different things this second time around. And as many things that we could talk about that they bungled in this, the critic in me and the fan in me still agree that this was a really successful season that had so many great arcs for all our characters. The thing that people forget, and it's just kind of been brought up now, is that Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is one of the highest rated Marvel projects if you look at all the stuff. It's like number 2. I think it's tied for second with I think maybe one of the Captain America movies, or maybe it's Endgame or something, that it's tied for number 2 with. And yet nobody talks about it. Nobody watches it. You try to tell people, they ignore you because it's not, there's no big name superhero in the cast. And the thing is if once you watch it, you realize that all our cast members are superheroes. You don't have to have powers to be a hero. You have to have, and what I love is our show has brains. And so when I see everybody flocking to the CW and all that, I say, well, then I question your intelligence. Because if all you want is pretty pictures and no story, well, I really maybe don't want you to be a fan. But I am seeing more traffic of people saying, maybe I should have gotten around to watching it. And I hope they do. I hope people do watch that and get to these kind of seasons and appreciate this show for in retrospect. Because it's just getting better. Yeah. And when we talk about it in a couple of months, we're going to have one of the best conversations we've ever had.
Oh, yeah.
And the fact that we few here that come and every time, we got the same people in here. It's nice to have this little family. It's nice to have this little niche thing that we get to talk about instead of how insanely popular we could be talking about WandaVision right now and probably have a lot more people here and probably, struggle to keep up with the chat and this, it's more personal and I'm enjoying this personal feeling that we have for this show before maybe it gets bigger and maybe gets this crazy audience and people will be clamoring for a comeback or a reboot or something like that. But season 3 just is a special season despite any flaws that it has, and it brings more joy than ire from me. And I can't wait to keep rolling the reviews out. And we didn't even cover everything that we could have covered.
Oh yeah,
and we didn't even talk about our favorite lines and how many favorite lines. But I will say my absolute favorite moment from this season is such a weird one. But it's the moment that made me laugh out loud, so loud, and it's so fitting, and it just brought in that basic why we love this show, the spy work, and it's Talbot and Fitz doing where Fitz has the motion capture on to portray the general, and he's doing a mini man, and Talbot just looking at him like. What the heck? I couldn't stop laughing. That is that might be the funniest moment in the entire series. And it just comes and goes and it just stays with you. And I mean, I was going to cue it up, but I'm like, no, because those of you who know these moments, there's so many to even mention that we forget them. And it's I want to thank Devontae just for bringing up the Obi-Wan moment with the hologram because we can't even remember all this stuff because it's so much, and I'm still living it and I can't remember everything. There's so much good stuff that even when we talk about the bad, it's always overshadowed by the good. Yeah. And again, I can't wait to keep going with these for everybody, and I'll stop now. So
best line. Who needs space? Because I have something magnificent right here. Oh, you guys.
Yeah.
Also, if we're a big family, does that make Darren, Phil, and then Will? Are you going to be back?
We're going to start getting all things confusing now at that point. No.
Hunter? Am I Simmons? I mean, I've got notes. I excel at preparation.
Over on Enchantment of Eternity on Mark's channel, we did a review of this past season of The Expanse, and as he always does, we have to rate the seasons for a show like that. Also difficult, but it made me think a lot of what you're talking about here with season. Everybody rates these seasons differently, and it's because they end up hitting very personal notes. but it becomes like, well, on this day I like this one. Well, this one's great, but this one has these moments. It's like they're all good. It's just, where do you put these individual ones, particularly above and below? And that is just a wonderful combination of the acting, the writing, the storyline, and like Rob said, while we may dig into some particular points here and there, there's a reason why this is the top rated Marvel television show, period. There's a reason why it's number 2 of all Marvel properties. Number 1, Black Panther. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. is number 2. Endgame's actually, I think, below Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., if I remember correctly. You guys can check Rotten Tomatoes and prove me wrong in the comment section below. But I think that is one of the great things about this show is that there is so much great stuff, and it does only get better. And the more they kind of get into things, the more that they can tweak everything. You're right. In 2 months, when we get into season 4, this is going to be a blow up discussion. We even have to do 2 parts. I don't even know how we're going to talk all about season 4. We're going to have to do 3 episodes to just talk about each arc inside of season 4. I don't know, maybe not that much, but it does feel that way. Though next month, of course, we're going to be getting into season 2 of Agent Carter. So keep an eye out for those things. And I know there was some questions in the chat about WandaVision, which was something we were actually discussing before we came on the air. Most likely, I will do a couple of episodes towards the end of the season to talk about where it's come, to do a little review, maybe get some speculation on where we're going to go. So keep an eye on my channel. I have to find a window and then make sure all these wonderful people have windows that match with my window. So keep an eye out for that. You can always catch me here on D's Reviews at Darren Jakes right below. And before I say goodbye, I'll let everybody else tell you where you can find them. And I can get those words out of my mouth. Corey, let's kick things off with you.
All right. Hey guys, Agent Corey here. You can find me at Biblical Bliss, or you can find me at Literature with Charm, which is my writing website, or I'm on Facebook as CL Shoemaker, SHOEMAKER.
Wondrous. And Rob, where can people find you and these awesome continuing season 3 reviews of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.?
Well, first I want to just quickly say, Darren, my window is always open for you.
Aww.
But yeah, you can. I mean, look, we're still doing season 3, and I have already recorded the first 5 episodes of season 4. We are doling them out slowly because I'm trying to do some more clever things and trying to take my time with my content, and I don't know. But you can find me at Smirking Gun Reviews, where we're still doing old S.H.I.E.L.D. new reviews. We're going to be covering The Walking Dead. We're going to be going back to The Leftovers. After The Leftovers, we'll be going back to Peter Capaldi's run on Doctor Who. We're also going to be talking about Robert Kirkman's Invincible. So those are all things to keep an eye out for on my channel. Otherwise, you can also find me on Twitch at Smirking Gun Plays, where we're like around hour 60 of Cyberpunk 2077, where we don't just play the game, we talk about life and pop culture and whatever else. The discussion usually leads us to a lot of different places. So if you want more content and more conversations, Smirking Gun Plays over on Twitch, where you never know what we're going to talk about there.
Excellent. And finally, wrapping things up, Agent Williams himself, Mr. Don Willie. Where can people find you?
Well, of course, you can find me with the family here for season 4 of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Oh, but first, we got to do season 2 of Agent Carter. And then, if you like, you can find me on my channel at Adon of Ice and Fire. Soon, hopefully, maybe at some point, I'll be putting up videos for the upcoming HBO series House of the Dragon. And you can follow me on Twitter at iDonWillie, that is IDonWilli, where I occasionally tweet some funny stuff every now and then.
Excellent. Excellent. I want to make a big thanks to everybody that joined us live in the chat. Babaro, Devontae Smith, Silva Surfer, Brian Guinness. I hope I got that right. We had a few people. I've got a Hugh Gordon was in a little bit earlier. It was a nice little chat there. Really love you all sharing your thoughts, sharing them with us, with each other. Some wonderful insights that we don't always get a chance to get into. So please be sure, if you're catching this in the archive, be sure to take a look at the chat run. You might find some interesting conversations right there. And like I said, you can always catch me here at D's Reviews or at Darren Jakes. That's on your Instagram and your Twitter. Until next time, I'm going to say good night and thank you all for joining. Be sure to like and subscribe. We'll catch you next time. Bye-bye. Oh,